Tasty, tasty. Tasty, tasty. Tasty, tasty. Tasty, tasty. Tasty, tasty. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning.
Tasty. wherever you are. I hope you guys are having a really, really, really good Sunday. I'm back from Germany. Thank you, Tim, for coming with me. You made what would be a terrible amount of traveling completely and utterly a joy to do. So thank you very much, Tim, if you're watching. Right, let's see who's about. I think Tom gets first with his joke about his dog smelling terribly because it's got no nose. So thank you very much for that, Tom. I appreciate that earlier. We've also got Anarchy here as well. He says, evening, Jane chat. Hope everyone had a good weekend. Yeah, I had a great weekend. I'll tell you all about it in a few minutes' time, as well as a great week as well. So lots to share and lots I wish I could share. Let's put it that way. Angry Swan's here as well. JQ subscribed for 19 months. Says let's go. Thank you so much, JQ, for 19 months of subs. I thoroughly appreciate that. Void Media subscribed at tier 1 as well for 15 months. Says evening, Jane chat. Hope you're having hope we're having enjoying our weekends and I hope you had a great time in Germany. I can't get my words out today. I apologize. But yeah, I'll talk about Germany in a few minutes. But suffice to say, it was amazing, very tiring, but it was a great trip. Moons of Empire, thank you so much for being here. Cordos as well, thank you so much for being here too. Anarchy subscribed for 22 months. That must be a record. That must be the largest one. Genomic, hey man, thank you so much for being here. Gex Anglian as well, thank you so much for being here too, as well as Andromeda Nate. Good to see you, my dude. Good to see you. Angry Swan subscribed for 10 months. Said it ruined my own weekend by reinstall WOT. Hopefully the stream will take the edge off. Well, thank you so much for being here on the stream. I appreciate it. And I appreciate those 10 months too. 606 is here as well. So is John. P. Midori says they subscribed for 3 months. Good evening all. Nice. Thank you so much. Patrick, thank you so much for the Prime subscription as well. Thank you so much, guys. It means the world to me. Thank you so much. Kiwi's here as well. Says hello. Hey, Mr. Kiwi. I hope you're doing well in your B-Stock things. Jenga's here too. Lottie as well says good evening. Thank you, Lottie. I appreciate it. I hope you're looking after Tim after his trip back. Looking nice and tan from the Germany trip. Yeah, sure. Thanks, Kish. I'm not really tanned at all. I'm just standard. Like, I'm good. But yeah, the Germany trip was great. It was amazing. So, yeah.
Tasty, tasty.
I'll tell you more about it in a minute. Like, I have to be really careful today on what I do and don't say. So I think that's what Demon Text meant when he says today I'm NDA daddy. NDAD. No, yeah, it looks better written than spoken, but yeah, I have to be really careful what I tell you and what I don't tell you. Tim, oh, I miss you too, man. I miss you too. So Tim was a great travel partner. He kept me sane all the way through it. I'll talk about the trip. I'll talk about the travel. I'll talk about what I can tell you in a few minutes' time, but I'm excited to talk through that. Kish, thank you so much for the 15-month streak. I really appreciate that, my dude. Thank you so much. And I hope you're doing well as well. I saw you posting SPC. I'm here, man. Just let me know. Nufi, hi Jay. Hope all your weekend has been good. Thank you, man. And Perlin is here as well. Perlin, let me know if you bought the car in the end. Be good to know whether you did or not. Anonymous Biker subscribed for 6 months. Says, evening, Jay. Hope your trip was good. I did. It was great. I'll tell you guys all about it in a few minutes. Chris Blackbrook is here as well, Mr. Moderator. Sorry, I'm just kicking my shoes off because I haven't kicked them off yet. Oh, that's better. That's better. Thank you, Papa J. You're welcome, man. You're welcome. But Chris, thank you so much for being here as well. I'll let you do any moderator stuff that needs doing. Because we're doing a customer build today, there might not be any choices for chat to get engaged with. We'll see how that goes, but I don't expect there to be any. So we'll see. Lazy Kick on Ball Boy, thank you so much for being here, guys. I appreciate that. So yeah. So what do I need to tell you? I need to tell you guys a lot of things. Firstly, let's start with the PT news because that's where we always start. What's happening this week? So tomorrow is Monday. We've got the whole team in tomorrow. Mel's in, Leo's in, I'm in, Sharon's working. I'm hoping that Josh might be back. I don't know. He's had some personal things to take care of, so we'll see whether he's back or not. I hope he is, but if not, that's fine. But yeah, we've got the whole team in tomorrow. Why do we have the whole team in? Well, tomorrow is delivery day. We have got a whole container arriving tomorrow. Now, this is quite possibly one of the biggest deliveries we've ever taken here at PT. This one and the next one are the two biggest in total. I think the next one's slightly larger. So Mel and Leo this last week, and I haven't caught up with them yet because I've been away and I haven't seen them yet, have been arranging all the stuff in the workshop so that we're ready for this, and the workshop's looking great. It's looking really tidy. They've clearly gone through a lot of stuff, so I'm super stoked and super excited to see that. It does mean that we have a ton of stuff arriving tomorrow, so whilst there's going to be a load of stuff that we need to update on Notion, and a load of stuff that needs to arrive, and a load of stuff that we need to pack and ship, it's going to take us a few days to get through it. So please be patient with us over the next couple of days. I'm conscious that I have a ton of emails and DMs to catch up on as well since last week while I was away. And my plan is to try and catch up with those tomorrow after I've given a debrief to the team about things I can't tell you, but I can tell them tomorrow morning. So then I'll be stopping that whenever the shipment arrives. So we don't know what time it's going to arrive tomorrow, but it's going to arrive tomorrow. Once we've got that, Sharon's going to pick up updating Notion from us, and Mel and Leo are going to start packing stuff, probably while I'm sorting through the rest of the shipment and trying to work out what's ready to go in stock, what stuff that we need to ship for group buys, what stuff do we need to count, to check, to test, to QC, all of that kind of stuff. So we have a plan. It's all written down. We just need to execute that. And the first thing to do on that is when the shipment arrives is to basically sort out which box contains which product so that we can then tackle our plan in the order that we've set it up. So Mel and Sharon have come up with a plan of priority, a plan of list of group buys, the order of priority in which we should tackle them, and how much time it should take us to get each one done. So very professional. But we'll work through that as best we can over the next couple of days. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. As well as that, this week we also have a few things that arrived. GMK Botanical arrived on Friday, I believe. I haven't caught up from Mel yet, so I don't know when it arrived. I just noticed it was here when I got to the workshop today. And so did GMK Daifuku. I managed to pack and ship GMK Daifuku this afternoon whilst I've been here, so I'm hoping Mel and Leo can tackle Botanical in stock orders tomorrow whilst I'm catching up on DMs and emails, and then we can all tackle the shipment when it arrives. So it's an interesting one. It's going to be a really busy week, and if you guys have anything outstanding from us, please just be patient because it might take us a little while to get through it. If it starts to impact like in-stock shipments, I will put up a red banner on the website saying that instead of the 3 working days, it might be a little bit longer. So please bear that in mind. But I think we'll be good. I think we have a really good plan for it, and I think we're better prepared than we've ever been before. So it should be okay. It should be really, really, really okay. In other news, what else do I have to tell you? So today we have a discount on all switches, so you can switch it up. I thought that was a great little thing. Basically 25% off all in-stock switches until the end of the stream. So for you guys that are watching, you guys can get 25% off any of our switches. All you have to do is spend 42 quid excluding VAT, which is about £50 including VAT, and it's only on in-stock switches, but basically you can get 25% off any in-stock switches. What's not to love? Oh, that's great, right? In terms of other things that are coming this week, I can tell you that we have some Geon stuff to be restocked. That should be restocked Monday or Tuesday. I'll pop up an announcement in Discord when that goes live. GMK Daifuku, GMK Jags, and some other extras will be live on Wednesday. So please take a look out for that as well, because I'm excited to get those into your hands. Daifuku looks particularly good. Jags is great as well, actually, but Daifuku, as you guys like pink, could be for you. So they're going to come in stock probably on Wednesday. Lots of Geon stuff, lots of GMK. Please be aware of that. I'll pop up an announcement as soon as I have more details on that one for you as well. So definitely look out for that. MCP, thank you so much for the 5 months of subs. It's 5 months in the trusted hands of my Lord and Savior Jay. That's not true. I'm no one's Lord and no one's Savior, but thank you very much for the 5 months of subs. I do appreciate it. Daifuku has UK ISO in base too. It does, Nate. It does. Yes, it has UK ISO in base, and the novelties also include a pretty cool ISO edition as well. I have to allow stream elements this week. I'm working on deadline submissions tonight. Fair enough, man. Fair enough. Mr. Gimp, thank you so much for the 3 months of subs. I thoroughly appreciate that, my dude. Thank you again. I really appreciate it. So Yusu redeemed coffee check. Yes, today I'm drinking Jabberwocky from Has Been. That's our standard go-to coffee here in the workshops. It's rare I'm going to be drinking anything else, but it's really, really nice. It's really nice. Jenga says XOX70 soon. Yeah, you can check the updates on our website. We've been told by the group buy runners over at Thock Supply that the XOX70 has shipped to our forwarders. As far as I know, and bear in mind I wasn't here last week, so I haven't checked anything, the last I'd heard is it hadn't actually reached our Chinese warehouse at that point. That may have changed whilst I've been away, I don't know, but the latest will be on Notion. If there's been no updates, we don't have it yet. We do have another container about to leave from China. Again, I don't know if that's just left or if it's just about to leave this week because I've been away for a week. So, yeah. I if it's not on Notion, I don't know because that's all I can tell you. Baby Rogue, what did you miss? Not much geeky ed. We just talked about what's coming this week. Geonworks restock and then some new GMK stuff. A big shipment is arriving on Monday, so lots and lots of stuff coming in that as well. I think Zoom TKL is the biggest thing we're getting this week, and we're probably going to start shipping that on Tuesday, all being well. Assuming the shipment arrives tomorrow as it should and everything's good, that's the current plan. So please do bear that in mind. We'll be okay. I'm pretty sure we'll be alright. Hershey, thank you so much for the 9 months of subs. That is a PT baby. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Zoom TKL. Zoom 65s we've already done. The Zoom 75s are in the next shipment, I believe, and that's either just left China or is just about to leave China. I'm not sure, as I've not been away. That's Coffee Bucket. This is a standard 16-ounce cup. From Le Creuset. It's just a 16 ounce. Alma subscribes for 12 months and says, does that make you a PT daddy? Maybe? Who knows? Who knows? So yeah, so lots of stuff going on this week. It's going to be really, really busy. Please just bear with us. That's all I can say. The team are going to work super hard to get through everything. But it should be all right. I'm pretty excited about it, and I'm pretty looking forward to it. So again, just to remind you, loads of stuff going in stock from Geon and GMK. Tons of stuff that's going to go in stock that's being delivered as part of the shipment. So I think the clack bit switches are included in this as well. So if you want to get those at pre-order price and not full retail price, maybe get your order in today, because I'm going to take it down as soon as they arrive tomorrow. So yeah, so there's loads of other stuff in there as well. I think at the end of this week, we're also expecting Retro Dark Lights fix kits. So this is the additional base kit for PBT fans Retro Dark Lights. So if you have ordered a set of that, it's going to ship probably either late this week or early next week, depending on when it arrives, and we'll check that out as well. Were the promised 87s in the latest shipment, or are they still in China? Fairy Harry, if you check on our updates page on Notion, that has the latest info. I have literally not been in work for a week, so I don't know. Like, I only know what we set out to do prior to me leaving last week, which was basically Tuesday morning just gone when we had our team meeting. Anything that's happened since then, I've not been privy to because I've not been here and I haven't caught up with the team, because they don't work weekends. Like, the next time I'll have to catch up with them is Monday. So just go on the updates page and check there. I can only tell you some things that I have seen whilst I've been away, which is very few and far between because the team manages a lot of it. But I do know that the Retro Dark Lights is on the way, as well as GMK Poco, which will PBT fans Poco, which will be selling in stock, and I think there is a EPBT group buy included in that shipment as well, but I can't remember which one. So yeah, lots and lots of stuff coming. The updates will have the latest position. If it doesn't have an update, we don't have any new information as yet. The team will update it when they're in on Monday, so definitely take a look for that. Cool. So yeah, as I say, 25% off switches today while we're streaming, just because we have a ton of switches in stock, and I thought 25% was a nice amount to give you guys off. All you have to do is spend 41 quid, and you can make use of that discount and get as many switches as you want for 25% off. Nice and easy. Right, okay, so I guess the next thing is the stuff that you all want to hear. What happened on my business trip? So, for those that you don't know, Tim was kind enough to basically be my wingman and come along to Germany with me for a trip to two of our biggest suppliers. First of all, we went to Germany on Tuesday. I'll tell you about the travel first, because the travel's quite interesting, and then I'll tell you about our suppliers that we met. So, how did the travel go? So, first of all, we're based in Bradford in West Yorkshire. I had to drive from here on Tuesday morning all the way down to Heathrow Airport for 1 p.m. on Tuesday. So I got there at 12:55. It was pretty good. Timed it pretty much perfectly. Got through all the traffic. It was great. I met Tim at the parking place, the parking garage. He was there a couple of minutes before me. Brilliant. Absolutely amazing. Perfect. Everything was on time. Fantastic. About a half an hour connection to get from there to the airport itself. Again, all fine, and our flight was supposed to be at 4:25. So we get to the airport around 2ish. By the time we've got like Tim's bag checked and we're about to go through security, flew through security, no problems there. So by like 2. We were well into the airport through security and everything else. And that's where we had some lunch. We had a nice burger, we had a beer. It was great. Ready for the flight. Figured that we'd go have a cocktail while we waited for the flight. So we ordered some... what did we order? Espresso martinis, I think something like that. And then we got the first news that the flight was going to be delayed for boarding by about 15 minutes. Not too bad. So they finally gave us the boarding signs, told us which gate we were going to have. Luckily, it was literally right opposite, maybe 30 feet away from where we were having some drinks. So we just sat there until the flight was basically packed and we were the last people to step on. Didn't have to queue, didn't have to wait. It was nice and simple. And then the challenges started. We spent 2 hours or so sat on the runway, couldn't move. So we were supposed to land in Germany at like 6 p.m, something like that, local time. We didn't get there until like 9:30, 10. And then we had a 90-minute drive across Germany to get to where we were staying in Regensburg, which I pronounced horribly wrong. It wasn't. I'm sure that's not how it's pronounced really, but that's where we were staying. So whilst we were supposed to arrive around, I don't know, get to the hotel for like 8 or 9, so we could then join everyone else for some drinks. We didn't get there until like midnight, so it was really late. So we didn't get any drinks that night. We didn't get any food that night. We just crashed because we were tired. And that was probably the most sleep we had for the rest of the week. And we only got like 6 hours before we had to be up. So yeah, so we met the next morning, 7 a.m. in the hotel bar for breakfast. Because the next day we were going to... Oh yeah, I should tell you about the drive actually. The drive was horrific because Tim and I were incredibly tired because we've both been up like 24 hours at this point. The drive was really bad. Like on the wrong side of the road, in a car that I didn't know, no other traffic to follow because the roads were dead, in the dark, could barely see. It was definitely a 2-person job. Like I was driving and Tim was like, you need to take this exit or you need to be in that lane right now. And I could barely like drive at all. It was awful, but we made it. We made it to the hotel. It was good. Next morning we woke up 7 a.m. straight into the bar, had some breakfast, and then by like 8 o'clock we were on the coach to go visit Cherry. So this is where it gets a little bit difficult because Tim came as our official videographer, and the idea was that we'd record a load of like videos from the travel, take some pictures, like visiting the workshops and everything else, visiting the suppliers. And it turns out that so much was covered by an NDA that we probably have very little usable footage. I don't know how, Tim and I haven't actually had a chat yet, but I imagine there's very little actual usable footage for this. But yeah, we'll see what we can share. We'll see what we can share. Tim was the official sexy man. He said, indeed he was. Yeah, he was great. He was great. So we arrived at Cherry HQ. They gave us like well, first of all we went to like a nice room where they prepared some drinks and coffee and stuff like that, which was much needed for everyone involved. And we finally got to catch up with everyone else that was going as well on the coach. So we were there with Mike, Morgan and Riley from Novel Keys. There was Leandrin and James from Mechanisk. There was David and Fabienne from Candy Keys in the EU. There was who else was there? Dylan was there from mechanicalkeyboards.com in the US. I'm probably forgetting some people here. I'm trying to remember everyone who was there now. Was there anyone else there? I might be forgetting some people, but like there was loads of people. Then there was representatives from GMK and representatives from Cherry there. Their names wouldn't mean anything to you, but they were there anyway, and it was all people that we knew. It was great fun. So we had a good time catching up there, especially on the coach over, and then also at Cherry HQ. The next thing that they said, they were going to give us a factory tour, which was fantastic. But before they gave us a factory tour, they were like, "You can leave your mobile phones in this room." So there was no mobile phones allowed, there was no cameras allowed, so we couldn't actually take any footage to share, even like, I don't know, like not showing anything. But they did show some really cool stuff, so I can't tell you all about it because there was a lot of things that were covered under NDAs. What I can tell you is that Cherry MX's setup is bigger than you anticipate. Like Cherry as a company is massive, and their setup is huge. Like their workshop floor is literally 10 times the size of PT HQ's, and it's kitted out with the latest tech. Like they have machines in there that are seven figures, like literally worth seven figures. They did show us how production happens for the switches, which again I can't tell you exactly how it works, but I can tell you that we saw the process end to end. So we saw everything from them producing the pins and the leafs, to them installing them, to switches where they do or don't do factory lubing, all of those kinds of processes. Switch assembly as well, we saw everything about that for multiple different types of switches. So we didn't just see the Cherry MX switches, we also saw this for some of the switches that they put into laptops, so the ultra low profile switches and things that are already out there, the standard low profile, and then of course we saw the standard Cherry MX switches as well. So we got to see their whole production facility. Now they have a storage system to die for. They have an elevated tiered storage system full of bins that is fully automated, which is phenomenal, and I'd love to do something like that here for the PT staff, where you just give everything a barcode, put it all in a bin, and that bin gets sorted into a huge racking system, vertically operated racking system with a robot. I would love to do something like that here. It would make packing so much easier, storage so much easier. We would fit so much more stuff in. Sadly, it's not something I can justify for the business, but they had a phenomenal process for that. The biggest surprise about the actual Cherry workshop, though, was the fact that how much is automated. Like, so much of it is automated, and there is very little human presence on the workflow. Like, when you consider how big the expanse is, there's very little humans. Most people who work at Cherry don't work in production. They work in design, R&D, technologies, marketing, accounting, all of that kind of stuff. So it's quite interesting to see. Don't forget Bob. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to talk about Bob. They told us we weren't allowed to mention that, so I don't know if we can. I don't know if I can talk about Bob. That was one of the things that I asked Gunnar about, and he was like, "You're not really supposed to say about that." So yeah, I'm not sure if we can talk about Bob. Do it. This is all under NDA. Like, I shouldn't really talk about any. Like, I have to be really careful what I do and don't tell you about. Bob was really cool though. Yeah, Bob was amazing. Bob was fantastic, and there was more than one Bob as well. Like, there was also, let's say, a Tim as well as Bob. So is Bob the new version of the game? Yeah. Like the really cool thing is that Tim and I actually did give Cherry some feedback on Bob and what they should do with Bob, and I really hope that you guys get to see that soon, because like, the ideas that we had were phenomenal. Let me just put it that way. Like, I say this as no word of a lie. The ideas that we had for Bob were really, really good, and we could do, like, if that was at PT, you guys would see nothing but Bob. Like, if you guys remember the Renault adverts for Papa and Nicole back in the 90s, it'd be something like that, but I can't tell you any more of it. After that, we saw the whole factory side of things. We also saw how the operations side work as well. So everything from accounting to testing to soundproofing. So they even have like a whole sound booth to determine the switch sounds and things like that. Like, it's like a padded room, so you can't hear anything, like an audible room when you go in there and stuff like that. So yeah, is Bob like the villain from WALL-E, but instead at Cherry's factory? No, Bob's cool. Like, Bob's really good. In that scenario too, Ben, Bob would be WALL-E rather than Eva, something like that. Acoustic chamber, that's the word I'm looking for. So they had an acoustic chamber for like testing sound profiles of switches and things like that. So yeah, it was pretty cool. What I can say is that Cherry have the future massively. How do I put this? They've thought about what's coming, and they're really interested in not just continuing with the gaming market and the kind of pre-built market that they dominate. They're very, very interested in becoming part of the custom hobby and the kind of like the area in which we sit within the hobby, which is why they invited us and Novel Keys and everyone else to go along. They have some really good ideas about what they want to bring. They have one product in particular, which will be... See, I have to be so careful here. They have one product coming in particular which will be phenomenal if they can get it off the board in the way that we anticipate.
Incredible.
Tim and I were both blown away by it. Novel Keys as well. Yeah, Oblotsky was there as well. I forgot that Oblotsky was there. How could I forget him? Like, Stefan was there. I spent quite a bit of time talking with Stefan. He was there as well. He was quite excited about this particular product that's coming. I can't tell you any more about it, but I'm dying to. Like, I am so dying to. Tim Tim probably knows what I'm looking at when I look over there, even though I shouldn't be. But yeah, so Cherry are working on some really, really cool stuff. I need a beat button. I do. I do. It's not about scent or anything else, but they have something really cool coming. It's so difficult to talk about. The other side of it as well is they also have the ultra low profile switches, which are basically designed to replace scissor style switches in MacBooks and laptops and things like that. I don't know which companies are going to end up with them. I think they said 2 keyboards are out there on the market with them now, but they're ultra low profile. They're SMD mounted, but they actually have a really cool mechanism, which is something that I fed back to both Cherry and GMK, that there is an opportunity in there for stabilizers in terms of the compliant mechanism stuff that I've been working on. I almost have a design in my head that I can pinpoint, so at some point soon I need to start working on that, because that's something that we could have a look at, and it should improve the stabilizers if it works the way I anticipate it will, without changing the footprint. So more news on that if I can share it soon, but that's completely my thing rather than Cherry's or GMK's, but it was pretty cool. As well as that, Cherry also talked about some other products that are coming, which I wasn't as excited about, but will be better for kind of like mainstream customers. Again, I can't really tell you about this one. This one, the second product here, this is almost ready though. It's not going to be too far away. The first product is a little bit further out, but a lot cooler. So, yeah. Sadly, not hobbyist friendly. No, the ultra low profiles aren't hobbyist friendly. I do have some in my bag because I had bought a handful of them back. I actually really like the mechanism though, Tom. It's about how it moves and how it works, because there is something in there that we can translate to stabilizers. I'm sure. I'm 90% sure that there is an improvement of stabilizers, just with a little bit of tweaking in that as well. Yeah, they announced a full-size board with those ULP switches this week. Yeah, so we actually got to try that board as well as some other boards as well, which is pretty cool. The other product, as I say, the second product, is something that's almost ready to start talking about now, and it is something that we will probably pick up for stock here at PT, but it's not something that I'm hugely excited by comparative to the other product, which is going to be pretty big if they pull it off in the right way. It's going to take them pushing it in the right direction in a really, really good manner, though they're going to have to nail the marketing for it, but I think it's a really big thing, and I can't wait to be able to share that with you guys. So yeah, so that was the end of Cherry Day 1. They did get us some lunch and a few other bits and pieces as well, and there was kind of like a round table where we discussed options and how we could portray their stuff a bit better, and there was some talks on packaging design and things like that, and there was a ton of swag that we got as well, which I haven't brought and I should have done, but we got like a Stein with our names on it and some other little cool things as well. Tim says the one product in particular is exciting if it's done right. You are right, Tim. That's exactly how it is. Yeah, JQ, you said Cherry is working on interesting stuff. This is something that should have happened 4 or 5 years ago, and it's happening now. Like, other people have tried variations of this, and it's been mediocre or kind of left behind. The new thing that Cherry's done is really new, and it could be a game changer. It really could. We'll see. Did they talk unironically about Scratch? So one of the main things that came out of the discussion from Cherry is that they're very German as a company. So they're driven by statistics and driven by kind of like the stats for the product, as well as kind of like the features of it. And from what they talked about, and they did show some stuff, which again I can't share too many details from an NDA perspective, but around the construction of their switches, which shows why they're so good and why they're so highly rated in terms of 100 million key presses plus and things like that, when everyone else is only rated to like 50 million key presses. They showed us why that's the real thing. What they didn't really understand and why they wanted us there was to try and explain to them why that's not necessarily going to generate sales. What is going to generate sales is smoothness and sound profile. So I gave them a few suggestions. One of the things I actually said that they should do is they should sell the Nixie style milky tops that they put on the new Nixie switches a couple of months ago. They should just sell those tops to vendors so we can sell them, because those tops would make a standard MX Black sound better or an MX Red sound better or whatever, because the milky tops have a better sound profile, and I think they would sell. Something that Cherry had never considered was selling parts of switches. So that's something that they're going to take away. Blotsky had a really good idea about them selling different weights of springs so people can customize basically with Cherry to Cherry products, or that they start to use third-party springs because their springs aren't that good. They were really receptive to some feedback. Tim and I gave them some feedback on their social media stuff, because whilst they've improved on social media, it's not that good, and there's a ton of stuff they could do. Tim's ideas with Bob were fantastic. I mentioned that they should share some of the machinery, even if they don't show specifically what the machines are doing. They should share some details about the machines, or even kind of like some backward shots showing like movement of the machines, even if they don't show the actual process it's doing, because there's so much going on there that's really cool to watch. If you're anything like me, machinery like that is a huge playground. Like, it's so cool to watch. So yeah. So that was day one. Then after that, he took us out for dinner. We went for a nice steak dinner. Tim got some really nice vegan stuff. Although I sat at the wrong end of the table, which wasn't really the wrong end of the table in the end. But yeah, it was pretty good. Had steak. It was really nice. A couple of beers, and then it was a late night back to the hotel. But that was day one. It was pretty good. Let's catch up with chat. The swag was cool. The swag was really cool, Lottie. Yeah, I should have brought it in for today, but I'm going to bring it in for the team to pick and choose what they want tomorrow. Can you give a rough idea what it is we are to expect? Is it some godly switch? I can't tell you, Ben. Like, if I tell you anything more than what I've said, I'll be in breach of NDAs, and I don't want to do that. But they do have some really exciting stuff coming. That's all I can share. If I could tell you more, I would. And as soon as they tell me the NDAs up, I will tell you all about it, and I will give you my honest opinions on it. So yeah. Did you get to eat at their canteen? Yeah, we did. It was traditional German food, which was pretty cool. Yeah, the canteen was cool. Yeah, they had this big square sausage thing. It was a little bit like a meatloaf, but with like German sausage. It was good. And then they did like a little curry thing as well, and some other bits and pieces. So, need to disclose everything. Everything with an A. Did Tim show off the pixies? He did show some of the reps his pixies, yeah. I don't know how they felt about it. Like, they were very guarded on how they felt about it, I think. Yeah. So some of the other things we talked about with Cherry were as well, like customizing switches, and they're really receptive to doing things for the community. They just want to do them for the right reasons and not do too many projects a year, but they've promised to overhaul how they do that a little bit as well to make it a little bit easier for us to get projects done. So I think there's going to be a couple of those happening this year. They had a couple they couldn't tell us about that are in the process. They also have one within the company that's been designed by some of their hobbyists, so people who are working for Cherry who are keyboard hobbyists. Which is pretty cool. So there is some stuff coming out as well that's going to be very much related to the custom market and not the mass-produced market as well. So yeah, gonna love the pixies. He wasn't guarded at all. He laughed uncomfortably hard at the word pixies. Who else was it who was unsure about it? Was it Albrecht who was like, "What have you done to these?" I think it was Albrecht who was really unsure about it. I can't remember. Let me know, Tim. I can't remember. Break NDO, no balls. Gouty, no. Yeah, it was Albrecht. Okay, yeah, okay. So Albrecht was quite senior. I think he was Gunner's boss, and he was he was a little bit shocked at Tim's pixies, I think. But hey, it is what it is. Did someone ask about fixing the clear stem size issue? We didn't talk about that. No, not that particular thing. Why have you risked the structural integrity of my switch? Is that what you said? I don't remember that. But yeah, I think they had some concerns about us just using RIT dye and acetone to color switches, because like those, if used wrongly, those could absolutely decimate like the internals of a switch. But hey, it's fine. If you buy switches, you can do what you want with them because you own them, right? I think the biggest thing for Cherry as well that kind of came across in the meeting is that their customers are either big gaming corporations or companies like Prototypist, Novakeys, and Oblotsky, and whoever else is their Mechanisk. And they're never actually in touch with the end user, which is you guys. So one of the things that we want to try and do is bring that relationship closer, and the rep who's closest to us here in the UK, he's called Jim. He's going to come and visit the PT workshop, so we can kind of show him what you guys see from an end user perspective and show him all this kind of stuff, because they don't see this side of the hobby. They think they did show us some switches that are coming, and they had them in KBD fans boards, but with untuned switches, untuned stabilizers, and they were just not nice to type on, right? So like they've just kind of missed this. Yeah, they just kind of missed this. Yeah, that's another interesting point. So Tim says that the colours of Cherry all mean something too. They didn't understand too much about why people would want different colour switches. So I think, yeah, so what Tim's alluding to there is they actually told us a bit about the history of Cherry and why Cherry switches have certain colours. I can't remember if that was under the NDA or not, so I won't tell you about it until I've clarified if it is or not. But basically I have like historical reasons why they picked each colour for each switch, and it's... They didn't pick Emic Reds because it matches Cherry, for example. They picked it for another reason. So, yeah. But they are interested in doing like custom color switches for projects going forwards, and they've got some ways that they want to work on that. But I don't think they really appreciate how important this market would be for them. So we'll see. Function over fashion and focus. Yes, historically, I think they're willing to change that going forwards. So we'll see. But yeah, I was pretty interested in some stuff from Cherry. We'll see how it goes over the next couple of months. But yeah, I do have some really cool stuff to tell you about when I can. I just can't tell you yet. So I am excited for some stuff that they're doing. I think that's about everything I can tell you. That's about everything I can tell you. I can't think of anything else I can tell you from Cherry. How German color switches? Why would you not want everything in black? Yeah. So the probably the final thing I can say is that Cherry are open to working with us to try and improve how they communicate about stuff. And I'm hoping that Tim and I can help them with that over the next few months, especially like how they work as well. So because they're a German corporation, it's a lot of red tape to get anything done that they have to cut through to try and change things. So I'm hoping that we can show them some more agile ways of working, maybe like Scrum and Beyond, things like that, because that's my kind of wheelhouse. That's what I did professionally for 15 years. Yeah, Cherry's open to opening up towards a custom community. Yeah, I put it like that. Demotex. Yeah, I'd say that that's probably a thing. They want to be involved more than they are, and I think their challenge is they just don't know how to get there, and I'm hoping that we can help them with that. And I don't know whether any of the other vendors offered this, but we directly offered them like the help and support that we can give them and the perspective we can give them. So we'll see if they take us up on that, because I think we can absolutely do it. Like we can between Tim and I, we could absolutely change very, very quickly how they work and what they produce in terms of physical production through some agile teachings and some changes in philosophy and the ways of thinking and ways of interacting with the custom community without spending any more money than they do now. And Tim could very much help them on these aspects of the social media marketing. Like, I had some good ideas, Tim had some good ideas. They just need to implement them. We did meet with the marketing team and we gave them these suggestions, and they were just like, okay. They didn't actually say yes to anything. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Could be good. And then day two we visited good old GMK, which was really exciting because I got to finally meet like the people that I speak to every day at GMK. So we have reps there that we work with daily, and it was really cool to actually finally meet them in person. So that was really cool. Again, the day started really, really early. So I think it was a little bit late. I think it was an 8 a.m. start or 7:30 start or something like that in the bar. And then we were on the coach for like 8:30. And it's about an hour's drive from there to GMK. PT open day with a Cherry rep who could meet some of the community. Maybe. We'll see. The one thing Cherry did say is that they're really open to working with us on things like giveaways and stuff like that. So, like if we can do some marketing and they want us to like tag and share with them and do stuff, they're all happy for that, and they'll help us out with it and do giveaways and come to meetups and stuff. So we can probably get them to come to some meetups and share some stuff. That's absolutely something we can do. Whether that's PT or whether it's working with MK UK to get a UK open day out there, that's absolutely something we can do. Get a rep on for a Q&A stream. I don't think they'd do that. I really don't think they'd do that. If they were going to do something like that, they'd want to do something with maybe Alex Otos or something. I don't think mine's the right stream place to do that for. But yeah, like there could be options there. It's not a bad idea. Again, it's something that I'm hoping they reach out to us to talk about. So yeah, I know that they've already kind of dropped us a couple of emails over the weekend about things as well. So yeah, I've been looped into a couple of things that are already happening and starting to move, so hopefully it will change things. Anyway, day 2 we rock up to GMK. Again, no cameras, so I don't know if Tim got any footage of me like approaching GMK, or if you got any footage of GMK. I can't remember, but like there's so little footage because we couldn't record anything. We got to GMK and we went in. They kind of gave us an overview of the day, and we got to see like kind of like meeting areas and stuff and canteen and things. They have a really, really nice kitchen actually at GMK, which is GMK Blue, which is and it was just genuinely lovely. The building is brand new. They actually have 3 locations that we saw, and I think from what I understand, they've only moved into the largest location, which is their biggest part of the company now, 18 months ago. So it's pretty cool. So the first area we were in was kind of like a series of offices and things like that. We didn't really tour that in the morning. We just went to the kitchen area, the meeting area, sat down, had some drinks, had some coffee, and then we went on to we met all the representatives. So you guys don't know them, but Christopher and Manfred and the people who basically in charge of GMK, the CEOs, or two of the three CEOs, were there. And then we did like a factory tour. One of the coolest things that isn't NDA that I can tell you about is that when we got to GMK, the couple of the reps were all wearing Birkenstocks with like a little GMK logo on them, and I thought that was really cool. And I thought it was very German because socks and sandals, great. But then they made us put like ESD strips onto the base of our shoes and then took them round in our socks, and we had to go through like a little test to check that we were electronically grounded. Manfred was amazing. So one of the things that they need to do, Manfred is a little bit like how I see myself in 25 years time, someone who is so into machining and technology and the production process that he knew everything about every machine. Like there was one machine, I'll tell you, this is way out of order, but there was one machine which is basically like a PCB pick and place machine. So it's putting all of the components on the on the PCB to pick and place it, because GMK do a lot of non-keycap stuff as well. It's about half of their business, but they do a lot of like control panels and production PCBs. And they showed us how it like picks all of these components and puts all like the SMD down, the diodes down, whatever it is to be sold, and it goes through a wave machine, which is really cool as well. And he was like, guess, and this Manfred. So this is a guy who must be 60, and he's typical German bloke. He was like, guess how many pieces this can do an hour? And we're like, don't know, like 2,000, 3,000. He's like, he can do 60,000, and he was so excited about it. And I think he kind of liked Tim and I because we were super interested in everything. And whilst the other guys were really interested, we were just asking question after question after question about every single machine. And we were like, oh, so how does it do this? So how does it do that? So where does it go from there? And where do you do this bit? Oh, you do that bit later on, right? Okay, let's see that. It was pretty cool. So Manfred was really nice. He showed us around. So yeah, so I didn't get any of the GMK Birkenstocks, but I want some because they're all ESD grounded, which was really cool. He showed us around the factory. We did see some stuff that I can't tell you about. We did see GMK's new sorting machine, and that is a sight to behold. That thing is phenomenal. Some things I can tell you from that is that they can do 250 GMK base sets, sorted, packed, and picked. You can't do the child kits, but it only does the base kits in a minute. 250 of them in less than 2 hours, which is nuts. Like, that's just nuts. It's crazy. We also saw how they used to handpick sets. If the base kits actually sold less than 250 at group buy, they don't use the new sorting machine. They actually still done by hand, which is pretty cool to know. So you can tell which that might slow down some sets, it might speed up other sets. Yeah. But the sorting machine was phenomenal. It worked very, very much how I thought it would do in my head from what I'd seen, because I do have like a bit of a background in kind of like engineering machines and stuff, or like the deployment of them. So it kind of worked how I expected, but the scale on which it worked was very impressive to see. They then also shared some stuff around how they're going to stop though. So one of the things we've noticed quite recently since this sorting machine went live is like some customers might end up with 2 Z keys or 2 X keys or whatever instead of a Z and an X. That's just one example. They've showed us how they're going to fix that going forwards as well, which is pretty cool. I can't tell you how, but they've got a fix for that. We also saw the machine that does the sub-legend, tertiary legend UV pad printing. So it is pad printed and it is UV cured, and we saw the machine that does that, which is really cool. We also saw a lot of how they produce and design and test electrical components that aren't related to keycaps as well, which is really cool. They even have a wave soldering machine. So if you don't know what this is, they basically push the PCB along some metal trays, and a wave of solder and flux comes down it, and that is heated to like 230 degrees. So the solder's completely molten, like it's just a big puddle of molten solder, and that flows down over the PCB, and it's attracted to just the points where it needs to be because of how it's magnetically charged, whether it's positive or negative, I can't remember, but it was cool to watch anyway. So we got to see that, which was really cool. And then we went to one of the second sites. I hope they fix the missing duplicate keys issues. Yeah, I mean, so we fix that internally here at PT. Like, if we have them, we'll send you one. If we don't have one, we can get one from GMK. But they do have an issue. They do have like a way of fixing that going forwards, and that'll be in every set from ones that are in production right now going forward. So it's only the ones that were in production before we went to GMK and before they had this system in place, which I can't tell you about yet until then. The second site we went to, I can say it was really hot inside. And the reason it was really hot inside is because this is the room where they produce the actual keycaps. So this was a completely separate building. It was a couple of kilometers away, like 10 minutes on the coach. And as I say, this is where they do all the injection molding for the keycaps. We got to see how the keycaps are produced, how the double shot process takes place. We got to see all of the machines. There's actually 2 locations that they do this. We only saw 1 location. We got to see their machine shop where they create the molds, where they detail all the molds. So one of the things that many people don't appreciate is that GMK actually makes all of the molds in-house. So we have the prototypist PT GMK keycaps. They have a mold there for that they produced internally themselves, and only I'm allowed to use it, which is great. But they showed us like drawers full of these molds, and whilst they inherited around 5,000 unique molds from Cherry when they bought the equipment from Cherry a few years ago, well, a couple of decades ago now, they actually have almost doubled that now. So between all the custom sets for all of the novelties and everything else, they have almost doubled the number of legends that they can offer, different sets and things like that. So this is from novelties, it's from additional letters, it's from logos and other designs and companies and projects and stuff like that. So we saw them actually producing keycaps. I can't say what keycaps we saw them producing, but we did see them producing some keycaps that were in group by a while ago that are going to be here soon. Sets that we ran, including one set that we were lead vendor on. So that's all I can tell you. We've even touched the dies. Yeah, we've even touched the actual raw dies and things like that and got up to play with it. Yeah, the electrical testing was insane. 100% functionality testing, not just circuit testing. Yeah, like if they're producing a PCB, it's phenomenal the amount of testing they do. Like, it's crazy. So yeah, it's not Mictlan, but there's some other stuff that we were like kind of like lead vendor on as well. So it was really nice to see it. One of the things I can tell you about that they did give us confirmation we can tell you about is GMK have had some issues since they ramped up production with spacebar flatness. They now have one single machine that will produce every single spacebar. So every single spacebar that's going to be produced from now onwards for any GMK set is handled by one machine. There was a set that's up and coming, ready to ship in a couple of weeks' time, that was going through the process of production whilst we were there, and we watched the machine for about 10 minutes and every single spacebar was completely flat. The other thing is as well, GMK also showed the vendors how to test spacebar flatness. They have a specific way of doing it. I can't tell you how that's done, but they have now shared that with all of the vendors, and we now have a process to follow to test if the spacebar is within tolerance or not. Again, I'm not allowed to share numbers, I'm not allowed to share the process, but that is something that we now have, so we can be really completely open and honest about it. But the space bars are now like crystal flat. Like, we couldn't see any deviation from the standard, and they actually showed us a few that had been produced that day, just randomly, just grabbed a load of them, and they just like slammed. They showed the process, and like they were all perfect. Like, they were literally perfect. So I'm very, very happy to tell you that GMK bananas are a thing of the past. Like, they're going to be a thing of the past. It was stupidly impressive. Interestingly enough, all the machines were labelled Boy 1, Boy 2, Boy 3, Boy 4, so on and so forth. Apart from the Spacebar one, which was named Boy Space, so it's Space Boy. Space Boy for Spacebars. So yeah. Imagine there's a GMK employee here lurking here, making sure Jay sticks to the script. I don't think so, but if they are, hey guys, nice to meet you. Probably ask Lego how to get long straight ABS things. I don't think so, because the processing is very different to how Lego does it. I've seen Lego's production in like YouTube videos and things. It is very different how they produce it, but it's amazing to watch. So yeah, so we saw all of that production. We then saw where the raw materials came from, so we went to another warehouse, which is again very, very warm, and this is where they keep the raw materials, the raw pellets of plastic that they use. So yeah, The other thing that we saw as well, which is no secret that it's happening, but we did see Mateo's MT new profile, which GMK is going to be doing as their new profile. We actually saw some production keycaps of that, and we did get some samples of that as well. So I can't tell you when it's coming, but it's not too far away. But MT new is a thing. We also got to try a full set of it typed on a keyboard with it. It's very nice to use. It's this, so you can see what this looks like on Mateo's blog, because he's shared a lot of the details on there. I'm not sure where my limit ends and stuff, so that's probably the best place to get information from. But I can confirm that Tim and I and Novel Keys and all the Mechanique and all the other people there, we got to type on this. We got to try it out, so it was pretty cool. I see the poll up who like people to visit. Guys, get a vote in. Which would you like to see more, GMK or Cherry? Go vote. So yeah, so it was pretty cool to see all of that kind of stuff. But MTN New is coming. They also showed us some other projects that are really cool that are we can't talk about, but they have some keycaps with some effects. Very interested, very interested. So I'm definitely looking out for that as well. Yeah. One thing I would say, Anarchy, you say that it's you've seen the process of making PCBs from China, and the process is amazing. I've seen that as well, and I've also seen the process for making keycaps in China. After seeing how GMK does it, and Tim actually coined this perfectly on the trip. He was like, I don't know how GMK can produce these caps for this price when they're doing this. Everything is spotless. Everything is fantastic. It's a really interesting process, and they do it to a degree that I've not seen any of the manufacturer of keycaps do. Like, they do it so well. It's so well managed. They have great processes in place. It is fantastic. So as well as seeing production, the other things we saw as well was color matching. They actually showed us how they do color matching now, and they showed us why it was an issue. Now, GMK actually had a seminar for all of the vendors a couple of months back where they walked us through this process, how it's done, what it means, to make sure that designers and there were some very high profile designers on there, such as Beep and a few others, but then of course there were all the vendors on there as well, and basically they were showing us how they produce the color matching results so that they can say whether it's to within a certain tolerance or not. And of course there has to be a slight tolerance, but whether it's like visually correct or not. Blotsky was actually really good at, like, he was just as good as a machine with his eye. Like, he was really impressive with it. They showed us some samples. I couldn't detect a difference. Tim couldn't detect a difference. Novel Keys guys couldn't detect a difference. Blotsky said, I think that's too green. They did the test. It was too fucking green. So Blotsky has a real eye for it. So they kind of like showed the process for that, which was really super interesting to see. They then also showed us the start of their archive of pre-existing custom colors, and basically they haven't sorted this out since they moved into the new service unit yet, but they had tons of boxes, like big storage bins full of bags of keycaps from samples that have been approved, that have been declined, for every set that they've ever made, which was cool to see. And I can imagine that once they actually get that going properly, it's going to be a really good reference tool as well for designers to say, do you know what, this isn't really right, but it should be closer to the blue from Metropolis. They can go get the blue from Metropolis and they can say, actually, do you know what, we can see where you're going wrong here. So yeah, it's going to be pretty exciting to see that. From there, we also saw kind of like their accounts process and some other bits and pieces, and then we had to sit down at a round table with them. So we talked about new products. MT New was one, some other keycap things that they wanted to do as well, and pretty much everything was really cool. Again, there's some things I can't share due to NDAs, but they were very receptive to feedback. They were very keen to talk to us about things. Accounting. Yeah, they have a big accounting team. And then we kind of went out for drinks that night, and that was pretty good. Back to the hotel, went out for dinner. So we went to a traditional Bavarian place for dinner on the second night. It was really cool. I just basically told the German guys, like, look, order whatever is the traditional Bavarian food for me. So they did, and it was great. It was fantastic to try it. They do like this pork dish with crackling and everything else, and potato based dumplings, which were really filling, and then loads of sausages and pulled pork and stuff like that. Some of the beer, as Tim mentioned, some of the beer was fantastic. So yeah, it was really good. We also had a chat with them there over some beers about things like social media, things that we could share to help them, things that they could share to help us. all of those kind of things as well. It was really, really fun, and it was a good night out. And then back to the hotel for a little bit of sleep. And then Friday morning, we did not hit the club afterwards. No, we did have some really good drinks though. I was a little bit drunk at the end. Oh yeah, they did shots of something. They told us it was like a pear beer. It was not a pear beer. It was incredibly strong. But yeah, I can't remember what that was, but it was good. And then we walked back to the hotel, slept really well, or I did anyway. I think Tim had to get up that night to go to the pharmacy, but I slept really well that night. And then the Friday morning, we got up late, had a late breakfast, and then we went for a tour around the town that we were in. So we got to see the cathedral, the bridge. It was a representative from GMK kind of showed us around the town, showed us the sights, and took us on a bit of a sightseeing thing. Then we went back to the hotel, picked up a rep from Cherry, who we were giving a lift back to the airport. So a guy called Gunnar, who works for Cherry, we gave him a lift to the airport, had a great talk about Cherry, Germany in general, history of Germany, and gave him a lift to the airport. Then we got back on the flight. The flight was on time, straight through security, no issues, onto the flight, no problem. We had a pizza and some pasta in the airport, flew back, landed on time. The landing was actually pretty rough. So the plane came in like this, and then it should have been coming straight towards, like if I go straight towards the camera, but the plane actually landed like this, nose up to the side, and then it hit the ground and squiddled forwards. It was pretty tough. Oh yeah, so there was a story about the church in the town. We landed at Heathrow. Yeah, it was crosswind. Yeah, we landed at Heathrow, not at Leeds. But back in the town, so they showed us two structures. One was a bridge that goes over the river. I think it's the Danube, I think. Will it be the Danube? I don't know. Anyway, it went over the river, and then also the cathedral as well. And apparently the cathedral and the builder of the river, the two builders of them, or the designers of them, had a feud. And there was kind of like the designer of the bridge had an agreement with the devil that he would, if he won the feud and won the competition that they had, then the devil could have the first 3 souls over the bridge. So the devil assumed it would be like the people from the church, like the Pope or someone high, like the cardinal or whoever's running it, and he'd get those souls for the thing. And then they basically sent like 3 sheep across instead, so the devil got the souls of 3 sheep. And the story goes, the historical story goes, that at the side of the bridge, the river is really turbulent because it's the bridge that shakes up the water and makes it all turbulent. But it's really, really turbulent. And the kind of apparently that's where the devil jumped off the bridge and went back to the underworld and slammed through the earth, and that's why it's all turbulent and full of eddies, which was quite fun. So then we flew back to the UK. The flight was fine. Landing was a bit rough, but it was well done. And then we got back to our cars about an hour later. Had to wait a little bit for Tim's bag, but not too much. And then it took Tim 2.5 hours to drive home from there. It took me nearly 6. I was exhausted. After 3 full-on days, I could barely keep my eyes open, so I kept having to stop at services to take a break, have a coffee and stuff. And then there was a whole section of the motorway where it was down to 1 lane, and it was 20 miles an hour, and this was like 25 miles of motorway on the M1. I don't know what they were doing. I saw roadworks of some sort, but nothing was actually moving. So it took me nearly 6 hours to get back, and I got home just around 1 a.m. I think. Something like that. But yeah, so then I went straight to bed and barely did anything yesterday because I was too tired. But yeah, that was pretty much it. So that was a visit to GMK and Cherry. As I say, Cherry are going to be doing some cool stuff soon that I can't share for NDA time. For some time until NDA is complete. GMK showed us some really cool stuff. I can't tell you because it's secret processes, but they are doing some really cool stuff, such as MT New, which is coming soon. They're also doing other new projects, and they have the new specifically only spacebar machine. We saw the sorting machine, everything. It was great. Really, really fantastic trip, and I hope it was as valuable for them taking information from us and the other vendors as it was for us as vendors taking in in the sites and information from them, because it was really great to see. So yeah, and big thank you to Tim for coming with me, because otherwise I'd have struggled on some of those days to just stay awake because I was so tired, and Tim was the perfect travel mate. So thank you, Tim. I appreciate that. So yeah, any questions. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Just drop them in chat. I'll try and go scroll back up and see if there's been any questions. Shout out to Manfred. Manfred was amazing. He was great. I could spend hours talking to Manfred. I love seeing people light up when talking about something they're passionate about. Yeah, that was exactly Manfred. If you work in the industry, seeing growth and development of tech, how could you not be hyped about it? Yeah, I mean, that's true. That's true. Yeah. 2 of each key per set. I don't know what that means. Sorry, Chris. I hope they fix the missing duplicate keys. Yeah, we talked about that. They do. Yeah. GMK JR1. Nah, that's not a thing. We even touched the dies. I'm very jealous right now to stick it. Dude, it was so cool to see. Like, we even saw how they get the texture on keycaps and stuff. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Pretty cool. Is an elephant squishing them flat? No, they're just using a specific machine that allows the spacebars to cool. So for those smaller keycaps, they have like the machines work on a process which is based on time, and the smaller keycaps like the 1Us don't need that long to be able to pop off and be flat because they're 1U and they're square and they're pretty rigid. The space bars need a little bit longer to cool, so when you watch the machine, the way it works is it stays holding the press. Even it probably only cools like 10 or 15 degrees, but it does cool down significantly before they allow them to pop off, and the way it's then processed from that machine, the layout's slightly different, so it doesn't put them under any pressure and they stay perfectly flat. Haribo Egg says 6 months of subs. Yes, thank you for the subs. I appreciate that. Thank you, Haribo Egg. Trip sounds awesome. It was really cool. Imagine an official GMK Lego collab. Maybe. That could be quite interesting. Sounds like a fascinating place to look around. I've seen the process of making PCBs from China, and the process is amazing. Yeah. Like, the thing I noticed mainly from Cherry and GMK is that their production facilities are so much cleaner and nicer than the ones we see in China. So yeah. MT New feels lovely. It did, Tim, didn't it? It felt so good. It felt so good. Finally doing shine through. No comment, but it wasn't that. Pre-shine keycaps, yeah. B&Q color match comes around. Sure. Shake that dual extent. It's not quite like that. It's a little bit more in depth than that. Just ordered some BBA Taxiles Leno Fogs. Irene's, can't wait for them. Nice. Devil went down to GMK moment. Insert fiddle solo. Well, it's not in the town where GMK is, but it's not far of them. Do all the vendors have beards? So that's a really cool thing. So I knew Mike from Novel Keys had a beard because obviously I've seen Mike a load of times. I didn't know Oblotsky had a beard because I don't think I'd ever seen him, like a picture of him. But yes, he has a beard as well. Riley from Novel Keys, Neflock, if you guys know him, he doesn't have a beard, but he has a tash. Dylan from mechanicalkeyboards.com, he has a full-on beard like me. The guys from Mechanisk both didn't. Morgan from Novel Keys, obviously she didn't. But yeah, there was quite a few beards in the room. Like, beards are quite common in GMK vendors. David from Candy Keys didn't have one, but Fabian did, so that's like half. So yeah, it was really an awesome trip and really nice meeting you too. Zitras, were you there? Wait, who is Zitras now? That's got me. I don't know who you are now. Oh, Fabian, yes. So Fabian is one of the people who's been. Thank you. I was confused there for a second. I didn't know who you were. Fabian, let me know if I've missed anything from the trip. I didn't know your 2 names, but yeah. Now I know who you are. I can put a face to a name. So we actually sat next to each other, did Fabian and I, on the first night meal, and we were talking about a ton of stuff. So yeah. Sadly, just tuned in 10 minutes ago. Not the first night, sorry, the second night. We sat like opposite each other on the second night where we were eating the Bavarian food, which was cool. So yeah, it was a phenomenal trip, but very, very tiring, very, very tiring. So yeah, that was the trip. As I say, if you do have any questions, guys, let me know. I'll try and be as open as I can about stuff. There are some things I can't share because of NDAs, but it was well worth the trip. As I say, it was great meeting Candy Keys, and thank you, Chris, for gifting the black for gifting the sub to Fabian. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. But yeah, guys, if you have any questions, please let me know. There will be some things that I will tell you I can't flat out answer, purely because there's like limits on what I can and can't say due to the data protection stuff. But yeah, if I can, I will do. I did have to explain the SPC to some of the other vendors because Tim was wearing his SPC hoodie, and they were all like, "What the fuck is that? Is that a penis on your jumper?" So I did have to explain that, and so did Tim on a couple of occasions. So Fabian, you now get to see the SPC if you join our Discord. But yeah, it was a great trip. It was a great trip. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Kind of glad to be home.
Tasty.
Maybe more a soldering time question, but do brands like Cherry and GMK consider streaming by vendors and things a risk? I don't think so. I think they like it. I think one of the things that they both realized after the conversations with us and all the other vendors is that being open about what they do and how they do it on social media is going to be super important to them going forwards. So they don't share a lot of things because they're a typical German company behind a load of red tape, and I think they realized that they're going to need to start to change that. Like both companies were, we actively told both companies that was one thing we needed to see change. So yeah, I knew from the first second it was a really cool spaceship with special boosters. No doubts there. Yeah, for sure, for sure. I have way too many questions to actually think of any. Well, feel free to drop them here. You can drop them in the Discord server and ask me there. Again, if I can't answer it, I will just tell you I can't answer that because of NDA reasons. But if I can tell you, then I will, because there's a ton of cool stuff happen. Matt Pokemon Kid, thank you so much for the sub, man. I really appreciate that. Joshio as well, 17-month streak. That's crazy. Crazy. Chris, if you could leak only one thing, what would it be? It would be the thing from Cherry that I can't tell you about. That would be the one thing I'd choose to leak, but I can't tell you about it, so I can't leak it. But if I could leak something, it would be that one, because I think there's a ton of potential in that. Like, a lot. It means a lot of change, but yeah, that's one thing that I'd like to see. But yeah, that's the trip to visit Cherry and GMK over and done with. I've been talking for like an hour, so I am going to take a really quick comfort break, and then when I come back, see, Fabian knows what it is. That thing was hot, right? Like, yeah, it was really hot. It was really hot. But yeah, I need to take a quick comfort break. When I come back, guys, if you have any questions, just post them, tag them in chat, say at JPrototypers, can you tell me more about this or what about that from the visits that we did at Cherry and GMK. I'm back in 2 minutes, and then we'll build this customer's Nazere keyboard, because yeah, I'm excited to do that. Just make sure you tag me with any questions. I will look out for them as soon as I'm back. Give me 2 minutes, guys. I'll be back as soon as I can. Okay, guys, I'm back. This is where you pro. Hi, back. That was good. I needed that break. Scenes if we get to do marbles today, and Fabian gets the win. Maybe. Anonymous Biker says, how was the drive today in the Laurel? Yeah, first time I've really driven her. It was great. I came up to the workshop about lunchtime, took her out for maybe an hour's drive, 25 miles or so, something like that. Yeah, it was good. Really good. Took her home for a bit, went to the coffee shop for a bit as well, did some work. Yeah, it was good. She drove better than I expected. A few things I need to fix on her, and a few things that kind of like I realized that I didn't know I needed to fix on her, but yeah, it's good. So yeah, that's it. Yeah, £50 including VAT, or about £42 excluding VAT. I think it's £41.67 or something you need to hit excluding VAT to get the discount to work. So yeah. Looks like none of you guys have any questions about GMK or Cherry, so did I take Pete the octopus with me? No, Pete stayed here. He looks good though. He's just angry today. He's not furious, but he's just angry. So yeah, you have the OG numbers kit. I've been trying to get that badly. I do. That's my personal set. We ran out of stock of that very, very quickly because you can't tell us anything. I mean, you could ask. There's quite a lot of things that I didn't say that you probably could ask me about. No one's asked me about what switches I saw in production. I can tell you that. Yeah, I'm sure there's 1,000 questions. Like I could tell you about the working methodologies of both Cherry and GMK if you're interested in that, but it depends. PT80 went, oh man, like they're just sat in boxes here in the workshop gouts. I just have not had a chance to go through them. I hope I get a chance this week. I tried to do it before I went to Germany and I just timed out. Because they're my personal projects and PT's personal project, when no one's bought them yet, I prioritize them last rather than first. Because I think everyone else's projects are more important than mine, so I just haven't got around to them yet. But they are sat here in the workshop. I will get to them. I will get to them. Newfie says, was there a manufacturing process you thought you knew but found out it was very different? I think how it was done was, so I had a good idea. I think the biggest thing that shocked me was the scale. So from the switches perspective, I think the first thing, Cherry, the biggest thing that shocked me was that they actually do the stamping of the leaves themselves. I can't tell you how it was done, but they have a multi-stage process that produces the leaves from like a strip of copper or whatever the material they're using is, which is really impressive. I hadn't considered that was how they were done. How the switches are assembled, I kind of had that in my mind right, but the technology was probably a little bit more advanced than I realized. I could have done it very simply, and the way that they did it was significantly more in depth, purely from a speed and production perspective. Like they produce something like 1,000 switches an hour or something, so it's constant. I think it's more. I can't remember the exact number they gave us, but I think one machine they said they could do, maybe it was 1,000 switches an hour, but they have more than one machine, something like that. I can't remember. I think the biggest manufacturing process I wasn't aware of was the fact that GMK produced the molds for their keys in-house, and they have a machine shop dedicated to that. I had assumed they outsourced that, but they don't. That's all all in-house. Like when we literally got to go and see it, it's all in-house. They have their own CNC machines for it. They have their own electroplating machines for it, and all sorts of other things. So yeah, I think I'd never considered how they get the texture on the keycaps. I'd always assumed that was a mold thing, but it's not. It's a dye thing rather than a mold thing, which I know sounds quite similar, but it's a very different part of the process. So yeah. Is there anything pink themed in the pipeline? From Cherry? No. From GMK, whatever keycaps are doing, I guess. If you were given any, what freebies did you and Tim get on your quest? We did get a ton of freebies actually. So I got from Cherry, we got a lot of free Cherry branded things, like standard things like keycap pullers and switches and stuff like that, which is kind of like expected. We got beer cozies and coasters. We got a big Stein as well and a big bag. From GMK, we got some GMK keycaps, like actual artisans with GMK logo on. In GMK's colors, we got t-shirts, we got caps. I actually got a cap like this 5-panel hat with GMK on there, t-shirt and stuff. That's all in the wash at the minute. Unfortunately, my toiletries leaked on the way home, so they're all in the wash right now. yeah, we got a ton of stuff. Like, there was loads of stuff, stickers and all sorts of stuff. Little coffee bottles and things like that. Yeah, tons of stuff. It was great. It was great. Did you discuss this queue times with GMK? I know they're going down. Yeah, it was basically like there was no discussion needed on that because they've been telling vendors for months, and we've been telling customers for months that they expect to get everything that was outstanding at the end of last year done by September, and then the lead times will be 6 months going forwards from that. They're still on track for that. Like, I've been banging that drum for the past 5 months. No one seems to believe me, but it's, yeah, proof's in the pudding, right? So yeah, they're pretty much on with the lead times. PT80, yeah, soon. Did you see the potato trays being created? Not being created, no, but being utilized. What GMK's target turnaround time from group buyers being close to set delivery, and they're close to it. Yeah, so they expect it to be 6 months, and they're getting pretty close to it. So the big one that they told us about was that originally when GMK Olivia Round 3 ran in March, they told us it should be ready to deliver in September. It's going into production at the first week in June. So yeah, it's like on track. The biggest thing they actually told us was that the delays now are color matching, and that's shipping samples to designers and then getting designers to actually sign off and send them back, which is a challenge that we've had with some designers. We can send designers a sample on a Monday and say, you need to tell us by next Monday, and a month will go by and we don't hear. So, and I don't think we're the only vendor with that issue. So I think that's the biggest challenge they have, and that's probably why if there's ever a set that takes more than 6 months, it will be because the sign-off and approvals don't happen in a timely manner. GMK does have a fix for that, which is something we've known is coming for a while. Basically some software to manage, like a portal to manage projects and in-flight sets. We've known about that since last year. It's not gone live yet, but it's going to go live for vendors soon, and I'm hoping that we can automate the API into Notion out of that as well. So yeah. Mouse looks great, thank you. Yeah, SPC rocket and pink looks pretty good. I'm really scared of like getting it grubby though, so I'm keeping it as clean as I can. By hand with old school tools too. Yeah, Tim's hat is awesome. It is, yeah. We all got a hat. I was wearing mine a couple of times while we were away. I'll be wearing it at the workshop probably tomorrow once it's dry. They got a set which will have less than a 3-month turnaround time coming soon. Yeah. Means fix GMK bread. So as far as GMK concerned, that problem is with the designer, not with them. So we did see the color matching process. Yeah, I'd already seen it because we did they did a seminar with all the vendors a few months ago around how they do color matching and why they do it in a certain way, and we saw that practice. We saw it live in practice there as well. Was there anything in the GMK factory that really shocked you or seemed very novel? Yeah, so the biggest thing was that they all get a pair of GMK branded Birkenstocks. And the reason for that is because the Birkenstocks come with an electrostatic discharge strap built into the sole. And when we went, we had to put like a strap onto the sole of our shoe around the back and then tuck it inside our socks. And then we had to go through a test gate to see if we passed the test. Luckily, both Tim and I passed on the first occasion because we're great and we did as we were told. Oblotsky didn't, he failed. He had to go back and redo it again. But it was like a huge thing where they were like waiting for us to go through, and then everyone got a bit of a clap and cheer if they made it. So yeah, so we had to do that, which was quite cool. So that was quite cool. I have told my rep at GMK that I want some GMK branded Birkenstocks now. We'll see if I get any. I don't think I will, but I really want some. Is that a pink and white MX Master 3? Yes, it's a custom MX Master 3. This was designed and manufactured by a member of our subs club, and there will be some extras for some of our subs soon. It also includes our subs logo, which is the SPC rocket just on the inside there. So yeah. Custom SPC mice, absolutely, yeah. What is the reason for them? It's ESD, so the electrostatically discharge of the GMK Birkenstocks. So they've got like a strap built into the sole, which means as you're walking around the production factory, you're statically grounded to the floor, so you can't get like electrostatic shocks or anything off them. So yeah, that was what it's for. Not passing the static test must have been shocking. Yeah, yeah. Fabian, yeah. How did you get on, Fabian, with the things? Did you pass the test? It was quite cool. It was quite cool. Zosko, hey man, good to see you. That's so cool. I want them. So it was really interesting actually, because when we first rocked up at the factory, my rep is called Mario, and obviously I knew what he looked like, but it was the first time meeting him. And I said to Tim, "Dude, look at Mario's socks. They're so like sandals and socks. They're so German. I want a pair." And then we went in and we found out there was actually a reason for them, which was quite cool. You had a too low value and was let through. Oh, that's nice. That's all right. Yeah, I had a low value on one foot and I was fine on the other foot, but they still let me through. I think it was a Blotsky that they didn't let through. That 910 with red alert is sexy. Thank you. I appreciate that. The more I see the SPC mouse, the more I want one. For subs, we'll have some extras. There's only a couple of extras. There's not many. Probably next week or something like that. Yeah, they'll just be a cost. I'm not going to charge people over the odds for them. So yeah. Yeah, I think anything above... I think they said if you had one leg that passed and one leg that failed, as long as a total was over 1100 between both feet, it was okay. Like 1100 milliamp hours, I think. So 0.7 plus 0.8, you'd get a pass. I think it was only a Blotsky that failed, and I think it's because he hadn't tucked it down the inside of his socks. But hey, it was fine when he got through. So yeah. Cool. Okay. Double pass for me. Nice. Nice. I think... Yeah, I don't know why one of my legs was less than the other, but who knows? It was. Right, okay, it is time for us to carry on with and actually do a build today, though, because I've been talking for... How long? What time are we on now? Wait, what time is it? I've been talking for an hour and a half now about a visit to GMK and a visit to Cherry, and not actually done anything build. There's a niche market for GMK lederhosen. Maybe. You should design it and let's see if we can get it made. Like leather covered keycaps, something like that. Who knows? Right, okay. Let's start with the build then. Show you guys what we've got. We did get told we need to get lederhosen for next time. We did get told that. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm not sure they'd suit me. I think you should do that, Tim. They'd suit you. Let's flick over to the other camera. Let's pop that 910 away. Let's pop that out of the way. Let's first things first. Let's get out our little soldering mat. These are in stock as well. If you want a nice soldering mat, these are exclusive to PT in this colorway. This is technically PT pink. It's glow in the dark as well, and this is a solder mat. So I'm gonna have to just move that over there. We also have PT green ones in stock as well, so you can pick those up right now. Tim could pull anything off. He could. Leather keycaps would be pretty neat. I'd love the patina over time, or brass topped ones. Yeah, brass topped ones have done. I've actually got some sample Hubie caps with brass tops, which are pretty cool. Right, okay. Let's have a look at the customer build then. Have we zoomed out as far as we can? Apparently so. So today we are building a customer's Nazere. They have asked me to build it with the aluminium plate, which is here. There is the plate. We are building this ANSI today for the customer. That's their choice. We will respect and honour that. We will need a PCB, which is here. Has the Nazere logo on. Let's take the PCB out. Correct choice by the customer. Well, I mean, this particular one will only do ANSI anyway because of the plate, but yeah. There's the PCB. It's pretty cool. We are using Stabies today, so we have a set of Stabies stabilizers. We have a JST cable, which we will need. We have an O-ring, which I don't think we'll need. Maybe we will. Who knows? We have some rubber feet and an Allen key. And we have a daughter board. So let's put these to one side. Plate and PCBs there. In terms of switches, we're building this with NK creams today. They have sent me 90 NK creams. I believe these are looped, but I'm not sure how. So those are there. I haven't actually looked at this board yet, so this is the first time I've seen it. How much are they paying you to build it? They're just paying me my standard fee. I think this was actually before we changed our prices. I think this one's £35 for the build. But you can see on our website how much we charge. I think it's £50 now, including VAT. Sticker. serial number 90. Product Nazere 160 W1. It's pretty cool. Keep those two. In fact, we'll pop those back in there because they're for the owner. Let's see if we can get the board out without damaging it. So there is the board. There is some scuffs here. Is that scratches on the board? Okay, no. There we go. So we're going to have to take the board apart, take out the door support screws here. The case doesn't feel very tightly screwed together. It is black and E-white with the 3 weights. So we've got copper, brass, and then the polycarbonate blue on the middle as well. First things we're going to do before we go any further is we're going to install the rubber feet, and then we can feel comfortable popping the board down. We'll respect the choice, but not the person. They're a lovely person. I'm actually really behind on building this as well, so they've been very patient. This should have been built a couple of weeks ago, but with my trip and everything, I hadn't had a chance to do it. Lots of time for that. Nice. Who needs a plate? Just eat over the sink. Yeah. Plates are for snacks, not for keyboards, right? Oh man, these feet don't actually want to sit in this very well. So the feet are ever slightly too small for the milled recesses on the board. Plateless bolognese can be an issue. Yeah, just put it in your hands, right? I can see now why they sent 2 sets of feet, because the board is slightly, like the cutouts for the feet are slightly too large, slightly too small, and the feet are slightly too large. Well, whichever way around it is, I'm not sure. Probably the feet cutouts are slightly too small, so we're just having to really wedge them in there. That's all looking nice and neat. I'm not sure how well they'll sit, but we'll see. Okay, we can pop the case to one side now. Okay, so the case looks good. The badge is on the outside here. Nice silver color, looks good. The case does feel like it's not quite screwed together properly. Loose screws have been a thing from this manufacturer recently, so it could be down to that. Let's get some tools and take it apart. I think we need this size. Nope, slightly larger. I wouldn't have thought it was this one from looking at it. Okay, how weird. It's not either of those. Is this like weird in between size? Let's grab the tools properly here, because this isn't a standard size. Let's see if we can't use a T7 to get these out. Okay, T6 and it is. Okay, so they're technically hex screws, but none of the hex sizes fit, so there must be a weird obscure size. But the torque screw does fit and does have enough grab, so we'll use this for now. They are quite deep at the screws, yeah. Yeah, laser boosts don't do FR4 as Kish says. You'll need to go to a PCB manufacturer generally for FR4, which means you'll probably have quite a high MOQ to hit. I say high, it won't be like dozens, but it will be some. Interestingly, we only had 7 screws pop out of that board, but there should have been 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh no, there is 8. I miscounted. Okay, so now we can take the top case apart. This reminds me very, very much of the Iron series. Yeah, it reminds me very much of the Iron series. You can see here on the inside, it's really difficult to show you because it's a black case. Let's see if I can get this in the light. There are grooves just here. This is for the gasket material to sit in. So yeah. So we'll take a look at that shortly. We can get a better look at the insides of the case here. So you can see this is how the weights are entered from the inside. Nice little wave design on this one. This plate is screwed in by these screws here. Same on the other side. And then the individual 3 weights are screwed in by the 2 screws on either side of them. So basically it means that there's 4 different pieces for the weight system, which is pretty cool. We don't need to take that out, so we won't. The only thing I am going to do is take out the screws for the daughter board, and we'll pop that straight in. Okay, that's those done. Let's get the screwdriver popped away and let's pop in the daughter board. I'm just going to line this up nicely first and then we'll screw it down into position. Doesn't want to sit flush, so there's a tiny bump where this came off of the production. Can you see there's a ridge there on the edge? That's just setting it from sitting properly, so we're just going to take our flush cutters and we're just going to try and trim that away. Okay, so you can see now that sits a little bit more flush. I haven't got it all the way, but that should be enough now for us to get that to sit nicely. Yes. So now we're going to just screw that down. No, we're probably not going to take suggestions anymore. The issue with that was it was great for you guys, but no one ever made a decision, and I used to struggle to get anything out of them. So yeah. So now I'll just make the decision each week what we're doing it on. Haven't caught your stream for a while and been meaning to ask, is Top Clack dead and gone? TPC, I don't know, man. Brian and I have talked about bringing something back, but we haven't decided on what we'd like to do yet together. So I don't want to say yes and get your hopes up, but I don't want to say no. It's not definitely over. So I don't know, man. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. I can't say that it's definitely over or it's not definitely over. I think we'd both like to see it continue in some shape, but I don't know how or when or what that would look like. Is the message worded wrongly? Sorry, Robert. Okay, slight issue here is that we now need to take this back out so we can get the daughterboard USB cable in. Oops. I didn't mean to drop the screw, but I did. Okay, So we can lift this out, or we can do it when the screws have decided to loosen up. There we go. Just tip those screws back out. There we go. Now we can pop the JST cable in properly. And then we can screw this back down. Nicely does that. Deciding yourself puts you in a better position business-wise. Deciding what myself, sorry, JQ. I'm not sure what I've missed there. I'm not sure what that was in relation to, but let me know. The discount? Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, I know what you mean now. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm more than happy for people to like pick and choose a discount, but the issue was, like, I was giving you guys 15 minutes and we were getting no suggestions, so it felt like it was more a case of people weren't necessarily engaged in it. We'll see how that goes over the next couple of weeks, though. If these discounts don't work either, we might just stop doing them, because like people have to actually spend the money for me to make it, for it to be worthwhile me actually offering them. If they don't, it's not. Okay, so that's the case ready. The way the gaskets work on this board, I'll just show you. These are individual O-rings, and once we're ready, we'll stretch these around, not like that, but across these 2 points here, for example. So 1 and 2, and they will then sit on the plate just like this, almost like as a top and bottom bouncy band. So yeah, that's how we're going to build it. First job is to pop the stabilizers in the board. Now I do have a list of how the customer wants this built, so let me drag that up and I will tell you guys how we're going to build this today. So we're going to be building an ANSI with the aluminium plate with split backspace. Nice, good choice. Stepped caps lock, good choice. A regular left shift, it's ANSI, that's fine. Split right shift, it's ANSI, that's also fine. So we need spacebar, left shift, and ANSI enter, and that's it. In terms of spacebar size, I think this is 6.25U. Yes, so we are limited to 6.25U, and we need one for the ANSI enter, and we also need one for the left shift, and that's all we need. Nice and simple from a stabilizer perspective today. We'll get the screws ready for that. So we need 6 screws and 6 washers. So we need 1 and 1, 2 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this can go back in the case. It was a discount code. It's not an existing discount code, Susu. There is only ever one live discount code, and that's why we're streaming. Unless we announce something differently on Discord. Okay. These housings don't want to come out, but we'll get them out. Okay, so we need 6 housings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we need 6 inserts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. The rest can go back. Bless me. Excuse me. So at the gym in the morning and Gyps King gig in the evening. Have a great day tomorrow, Kish. I hope you're doing well. Thank you, Kefine. I appreciate that. Okay, so cool. That's our stablers all ready. Let's get these lubed up and installed. Clack bits won't be on Notion. Notion only covers group buys, not pre-orders. We don't do too many pre-orders, so yeah. But the clack bits should be here this week. I think they'll arrive tomorrow, so we should be shipping them by the end of the week. Okay, so we're just going to lube these up nicely with 205 grade 2. making sure that these are nice and evenly lubed. I don't really use stabies personally. I find them a little bit frustrating, but just like in terms of like keycap compatibility, so I don't tend to use them, but they are pretty good. Just going to lube these nice and evenly. I'm going to take a housing and an insert. I'm going to pop those together. No, the code does not work on the clack bits because the clack bits are not in stock yet. They're only on pre-order. Okay. Oh my gosh, these are so tiny. The wires just do not want to clip in here. There we go. Okay, that's one side done. Now we're just going to do the other side. What am I selecting? I'm selecting something on the screen I didn't mean to be. Trying to get a nice even coat here. Remember guys, it's always easier to add more lube later on than it is to remove it. So you just need to bear that in mind. When you're lubing these up. Again, I'm just going to pop the slider inside the housing and then pop the switch together from, sorry, the stabilizer together from there. Okay, that's one stabilizer done. We will lube the slider rails later. We'll finish the other stabilizers off first. The code cannot be used with clack bits now. They're not an in-stock switch, so I'd be surprised if it works because I've only set it for in-stock products. If it does, clack bits aren't in stock, so it'll be cancelled on those orders. Just to be completely clear. Okay. How was driving the Laurel today? It was great. So it was the first time I've ever had a chance to drive the Laurel since I bought it in October of last year. Why don't you want to go in? So yeah, it was nice to finally get her out, take her for a good drive. Did about 25 miles for about an hour. Went to the coffee shop as well. It was nice. Yeah, it was good. It was really good. The car drove better than I expected. There is some issues with the car. It's a 50-year-old car, so of course there's going to be some issues with it. It's not going to be perfect, but like they're all so small that it's nothing major. The clutch bite point's really high, but I think it's actually the collar that goes into the gearbox that raises the cable up that needs changing, not the actual gearbox or clutch itself. There's a little bit of bonnet wobble when the engine's idling and revving hard. Again, I think that's just the catches and there's some vibration coming from the engine, so I'm probably going to change the engine mounts at some point to try and fix that, but all tiny little things. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else major. There's a couple of bits of rust that have been coming through. The restoration on it was done a few years ago now, like 6-7 years ago, so there is a couple of issues that need addressing rust wise, but I already knew about most of those, so it's not too bad. Okay, second stabilizer lubed up. Moving on to the third and final one. So yeah, so there's like a few cosmetic things. I still haven't refitted the front splitter as well, which we had to take off to transport her up from where I bought her, which was near Brighton. So that's something I need to do as well. Is just refit that, but again, nothing major. Just getting some fixtures and taking an hour or so to do it right. But yeah, it was nice to finally get out and driving her. She drove great. I say that there is a slight misfire on one of the cylinders through the throttle body when she's not warmed up fully, but I think that's a choke issue because the choke cable is not connected. So I was pulling the choke out on the dash, but it was having zero effect on the carb. Well, the carbs are, so I need to have a look at that because that's probably part of the issue. But again, nothing major. Some old stuff and some new stuff. So there's lots of GM bits coming. They're probably going to go in stock on Wednesday. I need to check that we've got what we ordered. She is on throttle bodies, yeah. Okay, now we've installed all the built all the stabilizers. We're just going to loop the slider rails. This is just a really, really thin and light coating just on the slider rails, just to make sure everything moves nicely. Remember, we're not trying to gum up the works here. We're just trying to provide a nice, smooth, efficient platform to for the stabilizer to rotate on. Triple Webbers, not twin. Triple Webbers. So she's got triple Webbers, 2 throttle bodies per Webber. I need someone who's really good at carbs to come and tune it, to be honest. I think that's the biggest thing. I'll trim my stem. Okay, have we done all of these slider rails? Yes. Have we done this one? No. Just putting a really light coat on here. Really, really light. Again, nothing to come up the works, just to try and make them nice and smooth to rotate inside the housings. And there we go, that should be enough loop. Carb tuning is horrible. I've done it on most of my bikes and I hate it. Yeah, I'm not very good at it. There is a company locally who's really good at it, so I'll probably see if I can get them to have a look at it at some point in the near future. We'll see. But it's fine. The car runs and drives. I just know she could run a little bit better, so it's not an urgent thing, but it's just a when we get around to it thing. She definitely needs a new exhaust, but I knew that before I bought the car, so that's something I do want to try and get fixed this year. Okay, I think this is the screwdriver we need for these. It feels right. Wait, is that just turning? Can we just use this instead? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't fancy taking them apart, if I'm completely honest with you, but I might just take it to somewhere and say, look, tune these carbs. To be honest, the whole engine could use a bit of a tune-up anyway, so there is a place nearby that is really, really good for it and very renowned for their engine tunes for classic vehicles. So they're called DEK. They're about half a mile from the PT workshop. I'll probably just take the car there at some point and get them to validate everything, check it through, look at it, make sure it's okay. But she drives fine. Like, just the throttle bodies will pop a bang and she'll lose a little bit of power under hard acceleration in first and second. It tends to be fine in third. So once she's warmed up, she's fine though. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, they look like new to the throttle bodies and everything else, so I don't think there's anything untoward in there that I need to be worried about. And they probably don't really need a clean either, but of course we can get the experts to take a proper look. Okay, that's the ANSI enter done. We've just got the last one to pop in here, and that's going to be for the left shift.
Tasty, tasty.
Tasty, tasty. Thank you so much, Perlin, for the subscription for 10 months. Question for Ash. He would like your thoughts on who you'd recommend for gap insurance. Honestly, it really depends on the car I'm buying. I'd only buy it if like the gap was going to be huge. Like, it depends on how much. So like the first thing is what gap insurance is for. So gap insurance is to cover the difference in value if you have an accident within the first few months of what the car is deemed to be worth versus what you paid for it. So in other words, what's the depreciation as you drive it off the forecourt? So if you're going to buy a 100 grand car and you drive it off the forecourt, odds are it's only going to be worth 85 grand by the time you take it home. So that one journey, you've lost 15 grand. Your gap insurance is basically to cover the loss difference between what the car is actually worth on the blue book and the insurance will pay out versus what you actually paid for the car. So that's what the gap insurance is for. The chances of you having an accident in that time period are probably quite low. I've never known anyone need to cash in on gap insurance, but I'm sure plenty of people have in the past anyway. So I tend to just go for whatever's the cheapest. Like, look for the gap insurance that covers the amount that you expect to lose based on the value of the car. So look at cars now that are like a year old, because your gap insurance will be for a year. So look at the same car as what you're buying a year old for the same spec. See what the cost difference is. If it's like 10 grand, 15 grand, 5 grand, whatever the price difference is, use that as your baseline. Get your gap insurance for something like that, and just go with whoever the cheapest supplier is, like any insurance. Yeah. Like it's not something that happens hugely. Yeah, these are all 46mm carbs, so they're all 346. Anus and I. Not huge, it's more a peace of mind. Yeah, like I don't think gap insurance should be particularly expensive. I imagine it should be less. It depends on the car and the value you're trying to offset the gap for, but it should be a couple £100 for the year. It shouldn't be huge amounts of money. Right, okay. Plate assembled. Now it's time to pop the switches in, and then we can get some soldering done. Just shop around, Perlin. Make sure you've got the gap insurance before you drive the car, though. Some gap insurance companies won't allow you to drive the car without it. They'll like say like it needs to be. This is the only thing I've ever seen them say, like on rare occasions, but they have said, look, it needs to be in place before you take the car home. So just make sure you've got it. I am not new to when it comes to the world of buying cars, Moons of Empire. Like I've bought way too many cars in my lifetime. And even if you have bought the car already and driven it, there will be someone who'll offer you gap insurance. Like, there just will be. It's just easy to get it if you haven't driven the car yet. These are broken in creams, yeah. About 16 years ago, all I used to do was restore and tune classic minis. Nearly every single one had twin rubbers on it. Yeah, I mean, really? Twin rubbers on a classic mini? What engines were they running? Like 1200 cc's? Sounds nuts to have 2 rubbers on there. I don't know if they're broken in, but they are lubed. Sorry, in terms of the creams. They are cream switches. I don't know if they're broken in, but they're definitely lubed. The customer has not told me that they're broken in. You dearly love a classic mini. Most of my friends, I'm the only one who hasn't had one. What's the longest period you didn't buy a car?
Tasty, tasty.
I don't know, Demotex. Like, I've been driving for 12 years. I've had, I think at last count I had 51 cars. So I guess the average of that, I think the longest period I know is 8 months. I don't know. Thank you so much for the gift sub, Cara. I appreciate that. I don't know how it's just agreeing with what you said before and everything. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I hope Perlin gets what she needs though. 125cc, but bored out of 1350cc with twin was a bit quick, that one. Yeah, that sounds it. That sounds pretty quick actually. See, in my head, I always had it that you'd only needed a Weber for each litre, but maybe that's wrong. Like, well, twin Weber per litre was kind of like in my head where I'd go with it. Because I just can't imagine. I can't imagine. What was it a 4-pot engine, the 125cc? Must be a 4-pot, right? If it's a 4-pot, you've got 2 twin Webers in there, so you basically got a carb for each piston. That seems insane. Oh, I suppose it's why I've got on the straight 6 actually, because I've got triple Webers on the straight 6. Yeah, okay, maybe it's right. Maybe it is right. I don't know. I'm thinking out loud now. Probably making a fool of myself. I have a car around 2 to 3 years. Latest is my first auto, Mark 6 Golf GTI. Nice. I was actually convinced by automatic cars for the first time last year. I used to swear that I would never use an automatic car, but that has swiftly changed. My Subaru is automatic, and in sport mode, it's really good. Like, it's genuinely really good. 1.4 turbo mini, outputting around 210 brake horsepower. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Yeah, like, I do really enjoy driving a manual still, so, but it's nice that my manuals are all classic cars, so I can drive them in a way that's consummate with their classic heritage. And it's a ton of fun. But it is nice that I can have something that's quick and fast, like the Subaru. that's in an automatic package, which just makes driving around town dead easy. Like, I can't change gear as fast as that automatic gearbox can do it for me, and I can't be as accurate with the timings as it can. It's still flappy paddle, so it's still semi-manual, but yeah, you can leave it in just automatic mode, and it's great. Still got my first car, Mark 6 Fiesta, 1.4 litre manual. I don't have my first car, but I do. Well, I actually. So this is a lie. Actually, I was gonna say I do have my first car that I bought brand new. It's not true. I don't anymore. So that's a sad story. I did have the car that I bought first brand new up until 2 years ago. I gave it to a friend of mine called Hector, who some of you may know in the keyboard community. Sadly, he had a traffic accident in that, and he passed away. So that car is now no longer on the roads, which is really sad because Hector was a great guy. There was nothing wrong with the car. Yeah, he sadly passed away, and he was a great member of our community. So, R.I.P. Hector. Yeah, he was a good guy. He pops up to work up to the workshop for the car as well. He was just really sweet about it. He was a nice guy. Okay. Right. Okay. So we're doing full left shift, split right shift, step caps lock, split backspace, and then the standard bottom row, which is fixed on this particular PCB and layout. Okay, three more switches to go, and then we can start soldering. And whilst we're soldering, guys, it is the time where you can ask me any question you'd like. You can ask me a question about my trips to GMK or Cherry. You can ask me a question about anything you would like. Any topic is fine, as long as you just tag me with that JPrototypist. And the best questions are often the questions that you don't think I will dare to answer on stream. Like, ask me something that you don't think I'll answer. Because I will, as long as it's not going to get me banned from Twitch. So, ask me whatever you think I won't answer. And, yeah, get your questions in. Tag me with @JPrototypist. And whilst we're soldering, we'll do a little bit of a AMA process. Whilst you guys are getting your questions in, I'm just going to check for bent pins. So I'm just going to go switch to switch, just to make sure I can see that each switch has 2 pins pointing through. And then we're going to solder everything together and get this build finished. So I'm just visually checking each switch now, make sure that 2 pins are visible. Okay. Everything's looking good. And we don't have any bent pins at all. Right, which means we are ready to start soldering. Caps lock switch is wrong spot. Oh, we put it in full. We have. Great spot. We wanted to do steps. You were right. Let's fix that. Nice spot, Kara. Thank you very much for correcting me, Kara. You were very spot on for that. That would have been a funny desolder job at the end of the stream. We're just going to move the case out of the way so we don't get any splatter on it, because sometimes soldering generates a splatter. So we're going to pop that to one side. And then we're just going to go switch by switch and solder this together. Remember, get your questions in. Any question at all you can ask. There is no topic that's off limits. I will be a completely open book for you guys. You can ask me anything. All you need to do is just tag me with @JPrototypist and ask any question at all. It can be about love, life, marriage, legal stuff, finances, anything at all you want to know. Any topic at all. Nothing is off the table here. Just going to take this slow and steady. I'm just pushing some solder into the switches as we go. Looks like none of you guys have any questions today. Interesting. Usually I can't stop you guys asking questions, and I've given you all this news about GMK and Cherry, and you don't have a single question to ask. Interesting. Struggle to get into this one from an angle perspective, but we can do it. There we go. redo that one just a touch. There we go. What's the sexiest quality a person can have? Humor. For me, if they can't laugh or they can't make a joke or something like that, then I really struggle. Having a really good sense of humor is one of the sexiest things in the world for me. Yeah, I definitely take that over a lot of other things. Sense of humor. Would keyboard life be easier if everything was open source and no one had NDAs? Would it be easier? Yes. Would it? Yes. The answer to that is yes. Like, I don't inherently disagree with NDAs, like to protect certain things that you're developing or whatever. And there's a reason that we have projects that we don't talk about for a while. It's not because we have strict NDAs, but we just don't talk about them until we're ready to talk about them. I think the only issue with having no NDAs is making sure that projects are only talked about once they're ready to be talked about. But in terms of actual principle, yeah, it would make things far easier. Like, there's so much stuff coming that it'd be good to be able to generate some buzz within the community by talking about it beforehand, or even just get like the community's perspective on some stuff. But NDAs often make that difficult or impossible. Sometimes the NDAs make that impossible. What's the most? What was the most? What? I assume you mean what was the most exciting thing you saw on the trip? The most exciting thing I saw on the trip, a set that I was heavily involved with, being on GMK's production line. That was pretty exciting. And then the thing that I can't tell you from Cherry. That's pretty exciting too. I hope I can tell you about the thing from Cherry that I can't tell you about soon, but I can't, and I don't know when soon is either. But hopefully it will be soon, and hopefully I'll be able to tell you guys about it. I love having to be so vague. Have I ever been in a police car? Yeah, I've been in a few police cars, yes. Yeah, the answer to that is yes, on more than one occasion counts. Robert Mikey says, are we hiring? No, not yet, but soon we might be. I'm looking to expand the team a little bit more in the very near future. But this is only something that I've decided like today. So you're asking at a time when I don't have any clear answers on that because I don't have any clear thought processes yet. So no is the official answer, but the unofficial answer is ask that again in like 6 weeks' time, and it might be a different answer. JQ says, what is the relationship between the physical properties of a mechanical keyboard, such as key switches and build materials, and the subjective experience of typing on it? In other words, how does the material of the keyboard impact the user's perception and interaction with it? Okay, so there's probably a few things for this. One, no one has yet given me something that's a really good definition of what a mechanical keyboard is, because I can find products that are not technically mechanical keyboards that you would not agree is a mechanical keyboard that fits those descriptions. So I don't think there is a really good definition of what a good mechanical keyboard is. What I can answer on that one though is that people still to this day tend to have an inflection or kind of like an understanding that weight equals quality. Like something that's heavier is infinitely better in terms of its quality, and I don't think that's necessarily true. In terms of everything else, the finish tends to be what I think is the most premium part. So is the anodization good quality? Is the polycarbonate polishing good quality? What is the finish like? What's the fitment and finish like of the true parts at the end? That's where I determine quality on a personal level. I think many people tend to still equate weight, as I said before though, which is a bit of a misnomer, because I think some polycarbonate boards can be outstandingly good and they weigh next to nothing. But in terms of metals, people assume weight equals good. And that's why we still have massive heavy weights in keyboards that don't really need them, and that's why we skipped them from the J series. Like the biggest thing for me for the JO2 was getting the weight down, because I think a lighter keyboard's a better experience from a handling perspective. So yeah, good question, like that. What's it like being the lead vendor on a GMK set versus a secondary one? You said there's an upcoming set that you'll lead, but most of the time you don't. So there's a couple of sides to this. Like as a lead vendor, you do most of the work. That probably means somewhere in the region of 200 to 250 hours of work as the lead vendor on that particular set. Where you're the lead vendor and you're actually one of the smaller vendors for it in the world, like our market in the UK is like 10% the size of the US on average. Like, so if they sell 100 sets, we sell 10. If they sell 1,000 sets, we'll sell 100. To be the lead vendor, you need to be really selling close to 1,000 sets to justify the cost, right? Like maybe not quite 1,000, but you need to be selling most of the stock to be the lead vendor generally. So most of the times it tends to be that the largest vendor that's going to be in that particular project is the lead vendor. We tend to run ones for designers that are either local to us, so UK based designers, as the lead vendor, or ones that we're particularly passionate about as a particular passion project. So all projects that are my projects that I want to run, such as the J series or Midnight Rainbow, things like that. So it really depends. Like the cost to benefit ratio has to be there. And for most smaller projects, like for most smaller vendors, it's not worthwhile being the lead vendor because the cost to benefit ratio is too low. So it tends to make more sense for the large vendor to be the lead vendor. In terms of vendors, there are challenges. There are some vendors that know that if they offer us a set, we will say no because that's the lead vendor these days. And we know that they aren't particularly quick on response times to GMK or to get the machine moving with designers and things like that. Other vendors we will work really closely with because everything will be ready on time up front. There'll be clear percentages marked, there'll be clear costs marked, there'll be clear assets and prices and dates and everything else, and they'll have a clear process in terms of how they're going to handle it with GMK and make sure they've got designer approvals and sign-offs. So it really depends. Like if we're lead vendor, we're in control, but the cost to benefit ratio doesn't work for us. If we're not lead vendor, then we have to make sure that the lead vendor is going to be good enough to handle the project. And there are some lead vendors out there that we won't work with anymore because we don't like how they'd handle it. And I'm not going to name any names, but because it wouldn't be fair to name names, but that's how it sits. I hope that helps. Right, scrolling through questions. How do I grow a magnificent beard like mine? Mine's not magnificent, but thank you. I appreciate it. When can we do a hot tub stream? You can bring a hot tub, we can do it whenever you want. Less of a question, but I'd like to hear more thoughts on what the future of stabilizers could be. You mentioned the single piece spring mechanisms a few streams ago, and something like this would definitely shake up the game in a good way. Yeah, so one of the things we saw at Cherry was their ultra low profile switch, which is designed to replace scissor switches in laptops and other thin mechanical keyboards. The way they've designed that switch gives me some hope for compliant mechanisms. I have an idea that's almost ready in my mind. I just need to play around with it a little bit and let it percolate in the back of my head. But I think there's something good coming on that. Assuming that we can get a prototype working. Both Cherry and GMK were open to working with me on that though. JQ says, second question, leading on from the open source question. When a keyboard is no longer sole supported by a vendor or person, do you agree that at the minimum the plate and PCB file should be given to the community so boards don't end up as a paperweight? If not, what would your reasoning be against it? I think that really depends on the designer and their intentions for the board. I have no problems with making plates available for PT projects. That's absolutely something I'm more than happy to do, where we hold the rights to them. PCBs are a little bit more difficult because the PCB designer generally holds the rights to them. So for example, let's say we worked with Yankar. Yankar would hold the rights to the PCB, so it would be entirely on them if they wanted to release the files or not. That's a commercial decision for the PCB designer usually. Same if you work with some of the other big PCB designers as well, such as Heine and things like that. So because they arrange production, they arrange everything, and they charge you the production cost plus a royalty cost. So it really depends. If we develop them in-house and then we don't support it, then I would probably give that open source freely up. That's not a problem at all. But a lot of projects I can't make that decision on because it all depends on the designer. Does that make sense? I hope so. Like, it's entirely up to them at that point. Okay, that's the soldering done. Let's see if I can answer any more questions really quickly. Karis' second question, was it mentioned to GMK about the monster expensive Nordic UK kits? Did anyone have any ideas to make them more accessible, cheaper? It was mentioned, the challenges in how they compute MOQs. There is no good solution at the moment. If there ever is, we will take advantage of it. Not going to elaborate. Elaborate on what? Sorry, Gouty. I'm not sure what the question is there. How many ghosts are there in A Christmas Carol? The Ghost of Christmas Past, the Ghost of Christmas Future, The Ghost of Christmas Present, The Ghost of Jacob Marley. 4. I'm going to guess 4, but I haven't read that book for a long time. Will you collaborate with Mode on selling the sonnet as well? Who knows? It depends on how well everything else goes. Like, if we can, we will, but I can't validate that. What does that 250 hours of work consist of? I figured that once the order's placed with GMK, they will fulfill it. It was just as simple as end shipping. So it's a little bit more involved in that, Carrot. So let me probably see the camera for now. So for that 250 hours, you've got to work with GMK to get quotes, which means you need to spend time going over kitting with the designer. So you're going to spend a couple of hours looking at kitting, probably a dozen. You're going to look at kitting, you're going to look at size of keycaps, you're going to look at the designs for the novelties, make sure everything lines up to GMK's kind of like specifications. You've got the same for the banderole, the packaging design as well, so you've got to make sure that's all good. You're then going to submit all of that to GMK, and there's going to be some back and forth with GMK as you, the lead vendor. You're also going to have to communicate with all of the other vendors and make sure they're all on the same page, and make sure that you have that list of other vendors before you approach GMK as well. You then have to make sure that they're all registered with GMK as official GMK vendors, because not all vendors are, and come up with a solution for that if they're not. From that point forward, you're then going to have to start to make sure that the IC goes well, and you're going to have to constantly chase the designer for updates on that. You're also going to have to make sure that everything is correct and fine and ready for when the group buy goes live. So that's assets, pricing, profit margins, designer royalties, artisan collaborations. You're going to have to make sure all of that information is fully available and ready for all of the vendors to pick up on. Then you're going to have to work with the other vendors to make sure that all of their product listings are correct and that they've all got the correct information on there, and that everyone links back to each other or has a list of who the other vendors are and all of that kind of information too. During the group buy, you're going to have to make sure that you manage the numbers submission so that you can track them on a regular basis, make sure it's getting towards MOQ, or if it's not, you can cancel the set early and make sure that you're not impacting everyone's profit lines by leaving a load of orders that we have to cancel later on down the road rather than just a few. So there's all that kind of stuff as well. As lead vendor, you'll then also be the one responsible for making sure that we hit MOQ, and if we don't hit MOQ, you're the one responsible for making sure that enough extras are ordered to hit MOQ. So you have to then push, cajole, or fund the rest of the project yourself, depending on where that ends up. So there's a lot of time investment in that as well. You then got to transcribe the numbers and make sure that the numbers are correct, see which price breaks that equates to for GMK and the other manufacturers, and there could be 4 or 5 manufacturers for desk mats, for keycaps, for artisans, for cables, for whatever else goes with the set. So you could have that to do for 4 or 5 different products, making sure you've got the correct pricing across price breaks, making sure you're looking at exchange rates and making sure that that's all favorable. You've then got to submit all of that information to all of the different people. Let's just use GMK as an example. Make sure that they're comfortable with information. They'll then process that information. Then they'll send you out the color matching stuff. You have to go through all of that with a designer. That always comes through the vendors, and the vendors have to approve it with a designer and then go back to GMK. So it's a two-way avenue of communication. That has to be done within certain timescales. That takes time, it takes money, because you've got to send samples backwards and forwards, and you've got to make sure it's all approved. On top of that, you then have production renders to sign off, which confirm all of the different size of keycaps and placement within the kits. That includes novelty designs and making sure they're all correct on the SVG. So then you've got to have technical knowledge of how to submit that to GMK to make sure they can actually be produced. Whilst GMK does have some guidance for this, it's not particularly good guidance, and you still need to have some technical capability or someone within your team that's got that capability and can spend the time to look at it and check it. Like, just checking every single novelty to make sure it lines up with GMK's expectations is very time consuming. It can take a couple of hours per novelty design sometimes to just check every single last fillet, corner ratio, thickness, size, positioning, all of those kinds of things. Once you've gone through all of that with GMK, you then have production taking place, and then it gets shipped out to vendors. You'll probably have to arrange some shipping with GMK. Of course, you've got invoices to pay in the meantime, and make sure that's all sorted. Royalty calculations to do, which take half a day per group buy. Profit and loss accounts, all of that kind of stuff, accounting in the back end, sales done in the back end, making sure you've got product updates kept up to date, all of that kind of stuff. Once you've done that, you've got the sets on hand. You then have to make sure you've got all of the orders out of storage. Make sure everyone's updated their address, because sometimes people want to take their addresses or change their address, so you have to go through all of that process. You then have to pack and ship all of the orders. You've then got QC to do on dip tests and stuff that we do before we pack and ship, so we got for maybe 5% of orders just to check that they're all correct, make sure everything is there. Then you've got post customer support to deal with, so if you have any sets that you ship out that have got 2 Z keys, for example, you have to make sure that you have staff time and capability to deal with that. Then you can finally put the extras in stock and sell the extras, and then you have to pack and ship those. So it's a fair bit of work. I hope that helps. Right, next question. Where do I get a tray like the one you're using? We will have some more of these in stock soon. This is a little play tray from JJW. We'll have these in stock in a couple of weeks. If you mean this one, these are in stock on the website. These are American Haptics by Prototypist Mats in a special edition pink glow in the dark colorway, or PT green as well. They're in stock right now on the website. So there we go. Does help. Very interesting. Nebulant, there is Neb. I hope you're doing well, Nebulant. I hope you're doing well. I really do hope you're doing well. I have not spoken to you in so long. I hope you're well, man. I'll try and drop you a DM this week if I can. I miss you, dude. I miss you too. What's been my worst or weirdest experience of dealing with a customer? Last year I was on holiday. I took a week off. I was still technically doing some work while I was in Mauritius with my wife. A customer didn't like a response I gave them, demanded that I reply to them the same day. I was actually out on a trip at that point. I couldn't answer my phone. I had no internet connection. When we got back to the hotel, they'd actually found me on Facebook. They'd found my wife on Facebook, and they had messaged my wife on Facebook a rather nasty message asking her to get me to respond. That is probably the worst experience I've had, because no one should be involving my family in my decisions or my time. Gideon, all updates are on the websites. You can check the website, type in ! updates in chat, and it'll take you to it, or click on the updates on the top of every page on the website. Rights and ownership can get messy with so many hands on a project. They can do, yeah. Robert Marley, oh yeah. Yeah, very good. I mean, in the book there are a bunch more, but people say 3 and forget Marley. Yeah, so I think, yeah, okay, fair enough. 5 in the Muppets one, okay. It's really in the weeds with the designer. Sometimes it can be. Sometimes the designers are great and they get back to you straight away. I'm kind of giving you like from a bad example perspective, but sometimes we can send the stuff to a designer and not hear back for a month. Sometimes we can send stuff to a designer and hear back the next day. So it really depends on the designer, what they've got going on in their life. A lot of designers seem to think that once they've done the group buy and they've been paid, their job ends. It doesn't really end until the set's in our hands, and I think they forget that. Who would have thought being a vendor is hard and complicated? It is, but it's worthwhile. Sometimes 3-way on color matching. Nudge nudge. Wait, what, do I need to do something on color matching? Yeah, I mean, but yeah, it can be 3-way on color matching. Yeah, it can be, yeah. I don't think I've got anything outstanding with you, Neb, though. I don't think. We'll check. So in essence, not a lot of work then. I mean, it is project management 101, as Dematech says, which is kind of my professional bread and butter. It's what I did for 15 years, so I'm kind of used to it. We have good processes in place at PT to be able to manage that kind of stuff, but it's not necessarily the easiest thing in the world. And sometimes because there's so much communication that has to happen, like things do get dropped, things get missed. There was a time when we were doing GMK Zooted, for example, where for some reason Google updated their policy about what went to my spam and what didn't, and I missed a lot of my GMK reps emails. Like, he was asking me almost every day for an update on something. Eventually he reached out to Mike, and Mike gave me a right bollocking at Novel Keys because I hadn't responded on this. I wasn't even aware. I thought it had been done, but when I'd sent the submission to GMK's mailbox, that had gone into spam, and then all their responses to me had gone into spam, so I never saw them. We've fixed that since then, and it was just one of those things where shit happened. But Mike brought it to my attention, and we fixed it straight away. It took less than 20 minutes to fix once we knew about the issue. So it does happen. But yeah. Keycaps wrap, yeah. Jesus, for what is in essence some different colors and text on keys, you would think so. This process could be more repeatable. Thanks for the insights. It's not that it's not repeatable, it's just that there's still a lot of steps and a lot of things to do. Like, it's not just as simple as, oh yeah, you want to buy these keycaps, here you go, yeah, we'll get them made, here they are, there you go, we'll ship them out. Like, there is so much that happens in between. Like, even just paying invoices, well, even just writing an invoice, getting an invoice, paying an invoice, confirming the invoice is paid, and making sure the payment happens, that's probably half a day between all of the companies combined if everyone takes an hour to do it. You know, it's just a lot of time in general. Could you tell us more about the police encounters? Don't worry if it's too personal. Yeah, once I got arrested in Leeds City Centre for being drunk and disorderly. I say arrested, they just took me to the cells. They didn't actually arrest me and just told me to have a lie down and sleep. And then they dropped me off at home when I was feeling a little bit better. I think I was about 18 at the time. I didn't actually get arrested, so they just, yeah, they didn't. I think they were worried about me hurting myself rather than anything else. So yeah, so that happened. I sat in the back of a police car when I was test driving a car. So yeah, so the car I was going to buy was from the police car auctions, and they let me do a test drive, but it was still all rigged up as a police car, and they were about to rip all the lights and stuff out. I didn't end up buying it. I've also been in an American police car. I don't know why we were in it. Like it wasn't like we didn't go for a drive in it. I think we just got to sit in it. I can't think why. I think we were just in America for some reason. We got to sit in this police car. I can't really recall what that was, but I've been in a few police cars. Yeah. I hope it was a comprehensive answer. I tried. ISO enter or stepped ISO enter? Stepped. How is group by difference process different for keyboards with the Chinese factory? It's not really different. It's just, I mean, most of the factories we use for keyboards are Chinese. We do use some places in the UK and the US, but it's few and far between, really. The process is broadly the same. It's just a case of you tend to do more prototyping up front than with keycaps, where you do the color sampling like post group by, but before manufacturing. So yeah. Geez, that's too far. Oh, is this talking about the person that reached out to my wife? Yeah. A curse on their bloodline. I didn't go that far. Was their issue even that big? No, it was the fact that there. I think it was the fact that the stuff had been tracking and it hadn't updated for a day. I think, if I remember rightly. I'm not too sure that that's the right one, but I think it had basically been shipped on like the Monday, and then by the Wednesday the tracking said it was still on the way, and it hadn't been delivered, but it was going like across the world somewhere. I don't have any color stuff with you. I'm safe. Cool. Thank you. Thank you for confirming. Maybe I should have some color stuff with you. Maybe. We'll see. Off to bed. Have a good week. Take care, man. 3-way was the nudge, I'm guessing. Maybe. I had a bunch of GMK emails go to spam ones too. Yeah, I think it happened to a few people who use Gmail backends, and we do. And the GMK rep stuff just went straight to our spam, and they wanted the color matching code for Zooted, and I think it was a period of like 4 weeks. So Zooted was technically delayed 4 weeks because of that issue. We'd signed it off and approved it. GMK didn't get it. They were chasing me for weeks. I didn't get those chases, and there was a ton of other stuff I didn't get from GMK as well. And once we found it out, there was like, oh shit, there's all this to do as well. So yeah. Might have been asked this before, but what era of F1 had the best sounding engines? The late 80s, the V8s from the late 80s. Yeah, the V12s weren't that good. Yeah, the V12s weren't that good. Right, okay. Right, back to the build. So we've now soldered the PCB. Everything is together. Next job is to install it in the case. So for that, what we're going to do is we're going to take off the top case. We're going to get ready our O-rings. Now these O-rings do stretch around different places. You can see the cutouts there and there, these little semicircles. That's basically where we're going to stretch these O-rings around, and we're going to put one on each of the parts that need them. Now these are really sharp, so I'm trying not to cut my fingers because the points on them are pretty sharp. These are nice and easy to install, and we're just stretching them round. Last one. Don't take too long to install all. So there you go. You can see those bands are now in place. That's going to give us basically a dual gasket mount above and below the PCB. Still no PCB testing. Gotta live dangerously. Yeah, I'll test this after we've put it into the board. I'm confident that if there's any issues, I can fix it. So, famous last words, right? Okay, so now we've done that, we're going to plug in the JST cable. He says, come on, I can't actually get hold of that properly. There we go. And then we're going to lay that into the bottom case in the orientation it should go. Which is just like so. So you can see that that now sits in the little grooves milled into the case. That's all looking good, all looking nice and neatly aligned. We're going to take the top case and we're going to put that on, making sure the badge is in the correct orientation. And then we're going to flip the case over, and then we can install the screws. And we're going to go diametrically opposed for screwing this down, purely because there's got a lot of pressure to put on these gaskets. So we're just going to install one in this corner first. to this side over here and install this screw. It's more about just making sure we're spreading the weight evenly across the screws, Neb. So I don't like to, like when you're installing anything like this, I like the tension to be even across the case. I've just seen some plates warp if you don't do it this way. So you just want to go diametrically opposed for each screw, and it just keeps things nice and even. Build box 75 because I've been pestering him for weeks now. Yes, LWS. I will get round to it at some point. I don't actually know where it is, and I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do with it because technically it's owned by TopClack, I think, which as an entity is kind of an unknown situation right now. So I don't actually know who owns it if I do build it. Perhaps it will need to be given away. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the original agreement with Novel Keys was. So I don't know. That would be legit, alright. Sure, maybe. I mean, technically it was TopClack's. Brian built it once on stream and then desoldered it and sent it to me. And that was kind of the time as we were winding down, so yeah. I don't know what the official line is on it, but it's just been sat in my collection for about 2 years. Okay, so that's the board nice and evenly built, which means we can now get rid of our soldering mat and we can pop our screwdrivers away. There we go. So this is the board all nice and evenly built. Next job is to test it, make sure everything's working on it. But the board looks pretty good. And then once we've tested it, we can pop the keycaps on it. So let's grab up a switch hitter and I can show you guys that it's working. Grab a USB-C cable. Okay, let's see what we've got. Escape is working. Number works, both keys are coming up as backspace, but it's split backspace, so that's fine. That's all working, caps lock's looking good. All looking good there. That's looking good. I think that this is going to be working, but it's going to be, yeah, so this is an FN key in this bottom corner next to for split shift, and that's why we're getting the F keys showing up here. That's all working well. There we go. Everything's working well. So it's time to put some keycaps on the board. Plug the 910 back in so we actually have some control of the PC. There we go. Okay, so the customer has asked that we put these keycaps on the board. It's a brand new set of GMK Metropolis Midnight. This is what we're going to put on there. I, Mr. TopClack, I will take it off your hands for the fee of 17 grams of coffee beans. I think if you give me 17 kilograms of coffee beans, that wouldn't be enough. Have you ever seen me or Mr. TopClack in the same room? I think Brian's Mr. and I'm TopClack, or the other way around, right? Okay, let's pop these keycaps on the board. You did punch Brian in the face. Yeah, I do remember that. That was a thing. It is, and this set's also in stock. So if you like what you see, you can pick this keycap set up in stock right now from us. Both variants, the standard variant and the Metropolis Midnight, are in stock right now. Prototypist.net. Pick up your set while you can. Oh gosh, yeah. Why am I putting the Afro in? Surprise Afro. The thing is, I've got switch hitter still open on my my PC, and I was looking at the fact that I've got the Afro to work. Yeah, okay. Alright, okay. I've got it fixed, don't worry. It's been a long week, alright? GMK told me, actually, the one thing they did tell me is that we should all be using the F-row instead of the number keys. So, no. So, no. They didn't really. That was a lie. But anyway, go buy the set. Reveal that Jay's know nothing about keyboards. I never professed to know anything about keyboards. It's not like I sell them or anything. Ugh. I was really hoping for a GMK stream discount. I've had GMK Earth Tones in my basket for 3 days, and now the set is tempting me. I don't think we're going to be doing any GMK discounts anytime soon, if I'm honest. We have no current plans for them. Don't worry, Jane, that's a common rookie mistake. It'll go away as you build some more keyboards. Yeah. As I said before, GMK told me that we should all be using the F-row on the num row. That was the original design for their keycap, so nah. I think if you look at our in-stock pricing, it's typically more favorable than almost any other vendor worldwide. So if you're looking at Earth Tones, I don't think any other vendors actually have it for sale yet, but even if they did, I suspect that we'd be cheaper. Our markup is usually considerably less than other vendors. Yeah, so this GMK tray came about a year ago. It started off with GMK Thai tea, actually. So yeah, these ones came with GMK Thai tea. Yeah, I think we sold quite a lot of Earth Tones actually over the weekend. I'm not sure how much is left, to be honest, but yeah, cool. With the key notches. Yeah, so they actually changed to this type of packaging about 2 years ago, and then Earth Tones it changed to this one where it's got the little notches in for each key, and where the secondary tray is actually very slimline. The older ones was twice as deep. When they first started with this, it was basically 2 of this top case, whereas the bottom case now slots inside the top case, so they could slim down the packaging. So that started with this particular one started with GMK Thai tea. That was the first set that we got that had this packaging, but there were sets beforehand. I think the last set in the old style packaging was Alpine, and then the last set in the old plastic trays I think was Metropolis Round 1 actually, but I'd have to double check that. I might be slightly wrong on that one actually. The White Dust Demons, they are, but they're better than they were. Yeah, these ones are way better, Cara, right? How many emails asking where the second half of the keys with the new trays? It was actually something we raised with GMK because it happens so often about how can we make this little finger cut out here more visible. So we talked about making it bigger. We talked about having a tab. We talked about having some sort of instruction inside on this top case, maybe like an embossed bit here that says make sure you open both trays or something like that. GMK have said that due to like some changing laws in the EU, they may have to include an instruction manual at some point going forwards. So if we do, it might be included on that. There's a ton of like options and opportunities that are being explored for it. So expect some news on that soon, because we do get like some changes on it. Yeah, these are way better for the environment. Like way better. Like it's not even close how much better these are for the environment. We should have an FM key now. Let's see if we can find it. There we go. And stepped caps lock. And then we just need to do split backspace. So let's do that. Let's do the Neflock key, because I had a great time with Riley. He was so much fun over in Germany. So let's do the Neflock key. just for the customer. But there we go. What do you think? How does that look? A little bit of greasy fingerprints on here. We'll give the board a polish up before we send it back to the customer. Give that a nice wipe. There we go, look guys. How nice does that look? Looks great, right? Works so well with the back. Should we listen to how this one sounds? Looks pretty good. Let's pause the music and let's listen to how this board sounds. What, the Nazere was it pricey, was it? It is pretty loud, but it sounds really nice. It's quite a sweet sound. Do I have a set sentence for my type test? Nah, I just type whatever's in my head. Sounds pretty good though, right? I'm pretty happy with that. I hope the customer is as well. Spacebar needs a little bit of work. But yeah, it looks pretty good. I'm really happy with how this board turns out as well. I think it just looks really good. The customer picked a great set to match this board. I don't usually like Metropolis on black sets, but with the white and the way that it matches the weight here, looks really good. Bless me. Excuse me. Sounds like written through a box of Connects. That's a pretty good description. Yeah, I like that. Thank you. But that's come out really, really nice. Super, super happy with that. And I hope the customer is too. I think the accent colours really make it work. Yeah, super happy with that. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, so yeah, that is the stream done. The customer's board is built. It looks good. It sounds good. Is there a 7U bottom? There is a 7U bottom row supported on one of the PCBs, I believe. This PCB particular and the plate does not support 7U, but I think there is a 7U option I've seen on some other builds. But yeah, that is time for me to end the stream, I'm afraid, guys. I need to go home and get ready to start work again on Monday with the team. I'm just looking around the office because I think there's a ton of stuff to do tomorrow. It's going to be a really busy day, but watch out on Instagram because I'll keep you all updated on that. If any of you guys do have any thoughts on questions from my visit to GMK, my visit to Cherry that we talked about earlier on, please let me know in Discord or on Instagram. I'll share some more stuff about it as soon as I can. Don't forget to use a 25% discount on switches. You can see it in chat there. You get 25% discount on in-stock switches. Get my words out. Using Stream Switch Sale 25, you have to spend £42 excluding VAT or £50 including VAT, only on in-stock switches, and that will end in about 15 minutes time. So if you have any switches you want to buy, do it now because that's where the discount is. But thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate all your attention. I appreciate all the subs. I appreciate everything you do. So thank you so much, guys. I'll be back soon. Keep an eye on Instagram for some more updates and updates from the team as well soon. Take care, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good night. Bye-bye.